Recording.
All right. Recording in progress.
Hello.
Hi. What's going on?
Dude, it's been a day.
It's been a day.
I feel like I haven't talked to you since like last summer.
No, because we were just okay, we can't talk about that. But we did talk to one another on the computer about what over the winter.
Oh, well, the soft kill stuff, yeah.
And
right?
the Lost Lycia episode with
That's right. Oh my God, that completely blanked out of my mind.
yeah, it completely blanked out of my computer too.
I kind of wish I could watch that again.
I have
difficulties and all.
I have the choppy and corrupted version of that.
That audio was rough.
Yeah, it was unreleasable. But I do have it, not for public consumption, but I can certainly send it to you. It'd be hilarious. But
so what did you do today? I went and got my boobs smashed.
You got the mammogram, huh?
I did.
Wow.
I was telling the boys, the smashing this way isn't so bad. It's the this way.
Ooh. So here's the thing. The fact that I don't have the breastises,
right?
I don't fully I've gone to a urologist. I'm a guy, but we don't get smashed and squashed and squeezed in that fashion. Now, there is a man that holds your penis and looks you in the eye, which if you're a straight cisgendered male, a little fucked up. But I like the guy, and he's becalming in nature. Yeah. So I don't begrudge him anything, but still he's got dong in hand going, now, Pete, here's the thing. Blah, blah, blah. And okay, don't shake my dick for emphasis, sir. But nobody's squeezing, squashing, or pulling. No one's trying to make taffy out of that thing. The ladies.
That's a pretty invasive test that we have to get done.
And my wife is just, she's gearing up for her first mammogram.
Oh, okay.
What? Why do they have to abuse?
Yeah, it feels like there should be a better way at this point, but literally they take it, stretch it as far as they can, and smash it as flat as they can, this way and this way. And you can't breathe while they're actually taking the thing. And so this is what happened to me today. So you can't move, because when they get it arranged in the proper spot, they, you know what I mean? You don't want to redo it. And so you're sitting okay, breathe normally, and then I'll tell you when not to breathe. So I'm breathing normally, and then she's stop breathing. Well, she told me to stop breathing when I was exhaling. So I had no air in my lungs. So I'm just and then the one she had to redo and reposition, and she's stretching it, and then you got to put your arm over here and then put this arm over here and move your shoulder back and turn your feet at this angle. And it's, but that having been said, no matter how uncomfortable that is, it only lasts a couple seconds, and it's nowhere near as uncomfortable as dying of breast cancer.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I get that, but still, why do you have to abuse them? There's got to be a better way at this point. It's 2022.
Ultrasounds would be the best way to do it, but I'm sure that first of all, it takes a lot more time, and probably a lot more expensive. I mean, obviously probably be a lot more expensive, but I have had to have ultrasounds on them before. Mm-hmm. But it's good times, yeah. But the worst one though is the annual carjacking that goes on. I always call it a carjacking because it's literally they put what's a carjack in you and crank you open and then stick things in there. And
oh God, is that the pap smear?
Yeah, it's like they crank you open, like they put this thing in there and crank you open, and then
It's a
this is a really
spiculum.
interesting turn of events here. But then they take this thing that's like a mascara wand
Mm-hmm.
and roll it around in there. I'm really technical with this, and it
Yeah.
hurts. It feels like a really intense menstrual cramp for like however long they're doing it. Yeah, it's good times. But then it's
And you could tell I've seen the movie Dead Ringers way too many times when I know that the thing they crank you open with is the speculum.
yeah, it used to be metal back like when I first started getting these tests, and like, they'd be cold or whatever, and metal is noticeably less comfortable than plastic, I guess. I mean, none of it's good, but
Yeah.
again, you'd think they'd have like better tests for this. I don't know.
Well, I mean, and from a guy's perspective, I just had my first prostate exam pretty
Yeah,
recently because I'm getting that long in the tooth as well.
yeah.
And, getting, invariably finger blasted by a large handed man who
Yeah.
gives you not the one, but the two.
Yeah.
Blah,
It's not.
blah, blah, like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's not fun either. And like yeah, yeah, not good.
I
None of
would,
it.
I'll take being a guy any day.
Well, it's funny because like, I used to be horrified by this stuff when I was younger, and like you're all insecure and like you don't talk about it and whatever.
Mhm.
And then after I got pregnant and like literally random people are coming in the room and looking at you and your legs are like here and there and hands in places and measuring stuff, and I'm just like, I really don't care anymore. Like whoever comes in the room, come on in, take a look.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like whatever. This will all be. I've lost all shame many years ago. Like whatever, come on in, take a look.
Yeah. And that's what happens when a woman bears a child. When my wife was getting ready to have Kanan, I think there was no less than 3 different doctors and or nurses who were just like chucking a finger in, just,
Oh yeah,
are you dilated yet?
yeah, yeah. Basically, yeah, yeah. It's crazy. That whole thing's crazy too. Uh, like I never had a single contraction, and so I don't really know like all of that part of actually giving birth, because I went in to get induced and like they gave me the stuff and nothing happened, and
Mhm.
then they gave me a little bit more, nothing happened.
That was us.
Yeah, and then finally the doctor's like, it was like I was in there, I think I went in on Thursday or something, and this was like Friday at some point. She's like, well, we can try some more stuff, and I'm like, this point, because they had already, I mean, this is, I don't know why I'm talking about this. Like, literally, why am I talking about this? But they had already like broke the water, done all this stuff. And like, you're
Yeah.
sitting, I'm just going to be brutally honest here. You're sitting on a terry cloth towel with no underwear or pants or nothing on,
Yeah.
and you're wet.
Hmm.
And my skin hurts so bad from like sitting on a wet towel for like a day.
Yeah.
And I just said to my doctor, I'm like, can we just get this going? And she's like, sure can. 30 minutes later, Dirk was born.
Tara, my wife had preeclampsia. We were out to dinner, and we'd gone out, and whatever we'd eaten had, a lot of sodium. So it induced her one and only episode of preeclampsia. We go, and we're about a month and a half out. As a matter of fact, later that evening, my friends and I were going to go out drinking for the diaper party, which is the men's baby shower.
Yeah.
So all of my friends were gathered at a bar getting shit-faced, and I was out to dinner with the wife, and she's like, I don't feel well. We're going to the doctor. I'm off. So we go directly to the hospital where her OBGYN was and where we were going to give birth. He said, you have preeclampsia. This baby's coming now. So I had to run home, get the go bag, all that. We were in the hospital for 7 days because they kept trying to induce. They were putting this like the thing they put around the cervix to make it dilate. My wife is,
Ouch.
she'll tell you she's 5 feet tall. She's not. She's 4'10.5" maybe.
Yeah.
And she's little, you know.
Yeah.
And no one in her family has given birth naturally. They're all C-sections.
Sure.
Days and days and days
They're
of
like bulldogs.
yeah. Trying to induce for days. Finally, I mean, we'd been in this hospital for 5 days, and I look at the doctor and I say, listen, man, there isn't a woman in her family who's given natural birth. Why are we fucking around? He said, oh, gee, why didn't no one tell me this before? He said, I don't know. Ask her. She's the one who wanted to go through all this, because my wife obviously wanted to try to give natural birth, but zip, zip, zip. My boy comes out.
Perfect.
The worst part of that whole thing is so I can hear my wife all there. I'm scrubbed up. I have the gown on. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I can hear her all the way down the ward. Pete, where's my husband? I want my fucking husband now. My wife doesn't curse. I want my fucking husband now. Like, what's going on with my wife? Oh, she's just having a time. So they bring me in the wrong door. So when they bring me in, there's my wife, legs akimbo, abdomen open.
Oh.
So I see the whole get up and go is open, and the shop was open. I saw parts of my wife that no one has ever seen.
Yeah, Mike saw that too, because when they put the girl behind a curtain so you don't freak out. And when my doctor was like, okay, Dad, get your camera ready. He's it's now. And so Mike stood up and he's like, yeah, your guts were everywhere. Like, he's like, I'm glad you didn't get to see, that. But you know what? I think that's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of cool. I mean, how can your guts be out and then they just put them back in? That's like, it's bizarre.
I saw it happen to a dog of mine once too. I mean, that the dog had an infection. They cut her open right then and there and cleaned everything and put him back in, just like where the red fern grows. And I was like, well, okay, you can do that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be dark, I guess, but
it's us.
Yeah, exactly. What do people expect? My friend Patrick, who we had a complicated history, but I was starting to talk to him again and stuff, and everything was cool, and then I didn't hear from him, and I was like, I wonder what's going on with him, because he had been the one to gift me with my one cat, Jane Mary, and that's how I started talking to him again, because we had to put Jane Mary to sleep and I wanted him to know, and blah, blah, blah. We started talking again, and then he didn't respond, and I'm like, it's not like him not to respond to this. Anyway, finally his girlfriend writes me and she's like, I want you to know what's going on with Patrick. His appendix burst, and he just thought he had the flu, so he didn't go to the hospital. And then he wasn't in pain anymore, because once it bursts, you're not in pain anymore. Yeah. And so, but he was still sick and stuff. Well, anyway, long story less long. They did that to him, where they took everything out, cleaned out his insides, put it all back in. But unfortunately, he was gone. It was too late. But what is this? What is this conversation?
I don't know. How do we get into this? I'm not sure.
I think it's interesting to me, but what the hell?
We're talking about gynecologists and getting finger blasted over, your prostate exams and the like. This is aging humans, I guess. This is what aging humans talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even need to go into all of it, but what is happening?
Something.
Hi, Peter. I haven't talked to you in a while. Let's talk about our private parts and death.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what else is there?
True.
Yeah, pretty much.
What a day.
But it's been a day. That is for certain.
Yeah.
And I mean, I kind of feel like I'm winning all over the place right now, actually.
Yeah, you got great news today.
I did indeed. And, this is not to say that if your child is autistic, there's anything wrong with that. I have a nephew who has oh boy, what is the form of autism that I'm trying to
Asperger's?
Asperger's.
Mm-hmm.
My nephew has Asperger's and he is now in my trade. He's now a plumber, and I bought him all of his tools and whatnot. And he's brilliant. There's legitimately nothing wrong with this young man intellectually. It's more
Sure.
emotional and more intersocial,
Sure.
which is mostly what autism is, with maybe like some delays intellectually, but they're not stunted, just delayed.
Actually, aren't people with Asperger's usually like really high IQ or something?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, my mother was convinced, and sort of still is convinced, that I had Asperger's. I'm not convinced of that. I think I was just the oldest of 6 kids, so I was I had that going for me. But they thought my son was autistic, because he had spoken early and walked early and did everything early. And then he just, during the pandemic, stopped speaking wholesale. Just boom, done. Kanan did not speak after we locked down.
It must have freaked you out so bad.
I've been on eggshells for over a year and a half.
Yeah.
So, we have him in these early intervention programs, and he's seeing these clinicians psychiatrically. And I'm mentally preparing myself for the eventuality of him being picked on by asshole kids in
Oh.
school. And you run through that whole thing. I mean,
That's the problem, is
yeah,
dealing with what people may do because of it, not the thing itself.
not the thing. No, it's the other motherfuckers that
Right.
come to mind.
Right.
So I'm mentally preparing myself for all this shit, as is my wife. We're both taking it very hard. It's affecting life in general here,
Of course.
and the two of us got this whim that, wow, maybe, and we'd seen audiologists. Of course, it occurred to us, check his hearing.
Sure.
Audiologist said the kid can hear just fine. We'd take him to an ear, nose, and throat person today, after we've already been to all of these clinicians, these child psychologists, you name it, we've run the gamut. And we go to an ENT, and his ears are blocked. His inner ears are blocked. That's it. He can't hear consonants correctly, so he can't form words correctly, because everything sounds like
Sure.
so of course he can hear, he's just not, there's no articulation to speech as far as he's concerned at all. We all sound like the teachers in the Peanuts.
Right. It's
Yes,
kind
sir.
of just didn't catch this though.
It's apparently it's very difficult to discern, especially if the kid's not having inner ear infections, which Kanan did not.
Well, I'm probably
My daughter,
being little and they can't articulate like what's
my
going on.
my daughter had the same issue, but she had ear infections. So when she was an infant, she would pull on her ears and scream at the top of her lungs because she was in such pain. So the tubes went in rather quickly with my daughter, Elise. Now, my son, none of this. Easy going, very happy kid, just none of the pulling, screaming, belly aching. So this had gone unnoticed for years.
That's wild.
Yeah. But
Well,
the kernel of light in this is that he's gonna get tubes in his ears, and all will be right with the universe in the Tanski household again.
Yeah. And then one day you'll be sitting there going, okay, you can stop talking for a little while.
Shut up.
I know there's sometimes when Dirk was younger, he would just be talking, and which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I would say, like, can you just like not talk for just a little bit? Just a little, like, I'm interested in everything you're telling me, but bro.
Yeah, it's like, all right, dude, like, come on.
Yeah. Let's take a little bit of a break here.
It's I feel like I feel like I had an abscess tooth that I'd been living with for about a year and a half, and they
Yeah.
finally took it out.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, this is very cathartic.
Well, gosh, between that and, just surgery and
Mm,
lots
I
of
could
stuff going on.
listen. You can anything can happen to me literally, and it's fine as long as it's not my wife or my kids.
Yeah, I feel
You
you.
know,
I feel that. Yeah. Yeah. It just sucks having to, it's like life's hard enough without having to deal with like diseases and just, I guess that's just getting old though.
yeah. I mean, I honestly, anything that I've endured is it pales in comparison to everything you've been kind of like cutting your way through. But
Yeah.
it seems like you're handling it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're not breaking down.
No, actually, I feel better because I actually know why I don't feel good.
Yeah, you have a clear picture of what's happening. It
For
doesn't.
years.
Yeah,
I mean, like for years, for like literal decades, I've been telling doctors something's wrong, and they run the basic tests and they don't find anything, and then they always just tell you just lose weight, and I'm like, Dick, if I could do that, I wouldn't like. What it? Duh. Like I starved myself, stupid. Like of course. Anyway, that's a
yeah.
whole other.
You want to give me another eating disorder, prick?
Yeah, right. But I mean, I already did all that. Like it's I think that they don't believe like when a girl and it probably happens to men too, but like when a girl goes in and they're like, "No, I promise you, I don't eat a lot of food." They think you're lying to them because they probably do get lied to a lot. But
Yeah, but
like
that's what they do to women. I'm gonna be honest with you.
yeah,
I've been told by doctors to lose weight, and they're like, you got a beer belly." To a woman, it's like,
yeah,
like there's that whole psychological warfare that older men especially play with women. That's
yeah,
very patriarchal in a very disgusting way that makes me seethe with animosity. But I'll digress because I'm
yeah.
not a woman, and I'm not really. I'm allowed to be mad about it, but I'm not allowed to be like
It's
that
just a
mad
weird
about it.
thing. And when you're telling a doctor, no, I don't eat a lot of food. I exercise. I do all of this stuff. And they're just like, I think in the back of their mind, they're going, okay. So they give you like a blood sugar test and they give you a thyroid test, and both those things come back normal. And they're like, exercise more, eat less. And you're just like, whatever. So anyway, I've been going through this since I was in like middle school. Like my mom would take me for thyroid tests pretty much annually, and
Mhm.
they always come back normal. And so finally, like a couple years ago, a doctor checked my insulin level and she's like, your insulin level is insanely high. So if you have super high insulin, your body won't lose weight. Like
No.
it can't scientifically can't. So anyway, I had an answer for that. So that was great. And then, but like my liver enzymes have been high for since before Dirk was born.
Yeah.
And they always, it's always like, oh, you just probably have fatty liver. You just need to lose weight, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. And then the past like 2 years when I started seeing the endocrinologist for the insulin stuff, she's like, you've got a bunch of liver stuff that's off. Like, and I don't know the names of this crap because it's all confusing, but she's like, let's keep an eye on this. And every time I would go back, she's like, yeah, it's still high. Let's add this test to it. And like they were checking me for like, I can't think of what it's called, Raynaud's syndrome or something, but it's something where
Mm.
your bone grows extra and can throw off some counts and blah, blah, blah. Wasn't that. And then I started getting really sick to my stomach, like more than I normally, because I do anyway, but it was
Yeah.
like really bad. And she's like, at my last appointment with her, she's like, well, if your levels are still high next time, I want you to go see a gastroenterologist and let them take it from there. Well, I felt horrendously bad. So I did my appointment on my own because I already had seen a doctor back when I had my gallbladder taken out, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
So they're like, well, you probably just have fatty liver, but let's go get you an ultrasound on your liver and we'll do a fibro scan on your liver. And so I went and got the ultrasound, and they're like, okay, you don't have fatty liver disease. So we need to figure out why your liver counts are so off. Then they did the fibro scan, and they're like, you have very minimal scarring on your liver. So the test that they gave me, I could have, they came back really weird, where it could have been autoimmune hepatitis with primary biliary cholangitis, which ended up being what I have. But like the hepatitis thing is fucking scary. Like,
Yeah.
that's, don't, first of all, never look up survival rates on anything that you're diagnosed with, because it's
abysmal. It's abysmal.
It's not a smart thing to do, but it was exceptionally bad with that autoimmune hepatitis. Yeah. And I'm still scared about it, because like the doctor, like my tests were weird to where I don't have it, but it was off enough that they were kind of wondering if I had it and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then I had the biopsy on my liver, which was, yeah, you have this PBC thing. So now I go to a liver doctor, and then they put me on some medicine, and then I have to go back. Like I get follow-up blood work in June, and then go back to the doctor in July to see if the medicine has fixed it. But it's just nice to have an answer for like why I feel like garbage all the time, and like why I'm so tired. Because I've always been like, people. How far do I want to go into this? When you're an overweight person, people always assume you're lazy, you eat too much, you don't exercise, you just don't care, and you sit around and eat. I've never been lazy, but because people put that in your head, like I can't do enough. If I sit down, then I'm lazy. Like that's the mentality I have. If I'm not achieving something, doing something, if I'm not like 115 pounds and have a clean house and have books that are selling really well, and I'm a loser, right? Like that's yep. So anyway, I'm really the medicine that they put me on, I feel a lot better. Like I don't have the bad stomach issues anymore. Knock on wood. And we'll see what happens. But he told me that the scarring on my liver was really minimal and that it should be repairable. So I'm hoping when I go back in July and I get the fibro scan again, it'll be.
Well, yeah, because you're not out there like boozing, and
I don't drink ever.
No, like, you're not. You don't. You don't damage your liver.
No.
Whereas Big Pete right here is doing the damn thing, but like that's not your vibe. That's not what you do. It's not like you're doing anything to exacerbate the situation. Exactly. It's one of those things, and I know people who have hepatitis due to, injecting narcotics and the like. And I know people who've been cured of it.
Yeah.
Like, their counts are so incredibly low. Someone very, very close to me in a genetic manner, one of my relatives, it's always going to, the hepatitis is always going to be there, but there's a treatment out there that, eradicates it.
Yeah.
And it's akin to like a chemotherapy, but if they can help, junkies, why can't they help you?
Yeah, it's scary though, because like the end result is you have to get a transplant, like, and some people, the hepatitis one is super scary because it does, because it's autoimmune, so your liver just keeps attacking itself, and so it's fucked up. But like, it's scary, and I don't know, like, I try to balance between knowing enough about it to not be freaked out and knowing too much about it to freak out. So it's really hard. Like, and it's kind of like nobody really, like, it's kind of rare. So like, not like your best friend don't have it, or like their aunt doesn't have it or whatever. So it's like kind of hard to like get practical information on it, and I'm such a still like deer in headlights, like I don't understand what's going on. So when I was at the doctor last time, and it was the first time I ever saw him, and he's kind of like telling me what he thinks the diagnosis is and blah 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 blah, and I'm just like, I don't have any questions, because my mind is just like, I don't understand what's happening to me right now.
Right.
So
And then
Next
if
time
you
I'll probably have a list.
and if you WebMD it, you're going to
Oh,
fall
I'm
into
dead.
you're fucked. That's such a rabbit hole. I mean, I've diagnosed myself with legitimately everything at this
Yeah,
point.
for
You know,
sure.
I've definitely had leukemia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I
But
did find a group on Facebook of people that have it, and that's been super helpful because even like random stuff like trouble swallowing, like how would you even associate that with your liver? You know what I
one
mean?
wouldn't. I mean, to me, if anything, like I went through a bout where I had trouble swallowing, and it was not when I was drinking or eating, just if I had like a lot of spittle in my throat, and
Yeah,
that was a neurological thing with me.
yeah.
But you would think that's neurological, would you not? Not to do with the
Or a
an organ.
muscular or something, but you wouldn't.
Yeah,
And like stuff like like weakness in your arms and stuff, like your arms feel like they weigh. And I can remember like it's been a while now, quite a while actually, but I remember calling. I was sitting here working one day and my arms felt like they were sort of numb, and my legs
yeah.
kind of felt like that, and like I thought I was having a stroke or something. And I called Mike and I'm like, I need to go to the emergency room, I think. Like I felt weird and like my arms were like dead weights and blah blah blah. It was probably this stupid thing.
Yeah, yeah, more than
They
likely.
were just like, oh, you're dehydrated. They gave me, because all my blood counts that they ran, because they don't run like a full everything.
No,
They're like, your
no.
blood counts are a little, are fine, but you're dehydrated. I'm like, yeah, I live in Arizona.
Especially now, you guys are getting pummeled.
It's getting hot again. Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's April and I'm getting snowstorms every other week.
Oh my God.
It was snowing, what, 2 days ago here in
Yeah.
good old Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Pen- Pennsylvania.
Yeah, as I say that I miss that, like, oh, I wish that was, and then I'm like, if I lived up there, I'd be like, fuck this. But I hate the heat too. Like, I don't know. I belong in Scotland or something. I don't know.
I realized the first time I went to Ireland that, I'm genetically mostly Irish,
Mm.
and I definitely belong in Ireland. It doesn't get that cold, but it never gets hot, and it rains about 80% of the time, and everybody's drinking beer most of the time. It's wow, Pete, you're home.
Yeah, according to Ancestry, I'm mostly Scottish, so
It's the same thing. I'm a Scots Irishman. It's the same shit.
it is. We're just white mutts, that's all.
White mutts. Yeah. What am I? I'm Norwegian, Swedish, Irish, Polish, Romanian, and Jewish. But
Okay.
Jewish from Poland.
Mm.
So Ashkenazi Jew. Like
I don't
one
have any Eastern.
1%.
Yeah. I was kind of like, I'm all just like, I don't know, German, Irish,
Yeah.
English, a little bit of Viking in there. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I had more Viking than I thought when I did my ancestry because there's Norwegian and Swedish in there.
Yeah.
And you tell me I'm even that much Swedish, and I think of the Muppet Show and this bork bork bork. Yeah, I get real excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
I
in the
don't know.
kitchen talking to myself. Ernie Moore, Ernie Mooney Fern.
It is interesting because like, we watch a lot of, obviously we watch a lot of TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
Thing to even say, but like when I see certain and I follow certain Instagram profiles with like Scottish stuff and landscapes. I like a lot of landscapes. There's a bunch of really nice profiles that post like French countrysides and like all this stuff, but I tend to feel like, oh, I could just crawl into that picture and be home. But it's really not that different from Northeast Ohio where I grew up. So maybe that's part of it too, is that it looks literally like, Cuyahoga Valley National Forest or whatever, but I don't know.
Well, you got in Ohio, you guys didn't have like a mountainous region really, though. That's kind of flat, is it not?
No, Northeast Ohio. I mean, I wouldn't call it mountains, but Northeast Ohio is not flat.
Okay, so that's more like Pennsylvania, like the Appalachian
Sort of.
Trail, the rolling hills, and
Like, you know, the Last of the Mohicans?
yeah,
That's what it looks like in Northeast Ohio.
that sounds like here.
Yeah, it's very like foresty and like rolling hills and, you know, junk. It's pretty. The rest
That's
of Ohio is flat as fuck, but Northeast
yeah,
Ohio is nice.
legitimately my impression of Ohio, the first few times I'd been there traveling, the second you get out of the general Pittsburgh area is why is everything so flat?
Hmm.
Like it's just flat, very boring. So,
Well,
but I guess you're from that part of Ohio where it's kind of like New York, Pennsylvania,
yeah,
Appalachia.
kind of. Yeah, kind of. So when you're leaving Pittsburgh, you come through Youngstown.
Hmm.
Youngstown is pretty flat, but like once you get a little closer to the Cleveland area, it gets more hilly. And it's definitely not mountains. It's not like Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh sort of reminds me of San Francisco, actually.
Yeah, it does.
It's very, a lot of steep hills, and of course, my family's all from West Virginia, so it's what it is down there too. But anyway, what are these tangents?
I don't know. I don't know. We even if we had a point, we would digress from it pretty quickly.
Good thing we don't have an agenda.
No, I think having an agenda at this point would be just farcical.
Yeah, who cares? I like to just have a free flowing conversation. That's why I'm always like, whenever people I don't really know that well come on, I'm like, I'm literally not doing any research. We're just gonna
Yeah,
have a conversation like we're two basic strangers meeting in a club somewhere.
I've legitimately predicated an entire year's worth of podcasts on just that.
Yeah.
You
I want
know,
to get to know the person, not like a list of statistics that they've achieved in their life. You know what I mean? If it comes up
yeah,
naturally, of course, but
yeah, but
I'm
like I don't want to like sit and talk to someone like I'm reading off the back of their baseball card.
right, like a
Like,
wiki.
yeah, like, hey, Raleigh Fingers, your ERA is this, and
Yeah.
look, come on.
You know what drives me absolutely nuts is like I'm sure this probably happens to you too, but like some new person will send you a friend request, you accept it. They immediately come into your inbox and like, hey, and you're like, hi, and they're like, how are you? And you're like, I'm okay. How about you? And they're like, good. And then like, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm not going for a job interview, and I'm not going to explain to you everything about myself in these one sentence fucking blurbs.
Yeah.
Get to know me like a normal human being by interacting on my posts. Talk to me like a person, not like you're interviewing me for like second shift at McDonald's. Like that is so boring and banal. Like who wants to have that conversation?
It's very HR of people. Like,
It is. I'm not, first of all, why are you so interested in where I'm from? That
yeah.
always puts a red flag up to me, like you're trying to scam me out of something. And then so some person the other day on Instagram, oh my God. So on one of my posts, they posted me, DM me and tell me something about yourself. And I'm like, no. And they're like, and I was in a mood that I'm like, okay, I'll play along a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why? And they're like, I just want to know something about you. And I'm like, but why? And they're like, well, I want to just talk to you. I'm like, so you message me.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, it's not working. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. If it's not working for you, if I send you a message, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So anyway, somehow I accidentally replied that comment directly to their inbox instead of on the post. And
Yeah.
so the person starts writing to me and they're like, just the same banal stuff, like, where are you from, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm from Ohio.
Yeah.
That's not where I live. And then, then they started doing this thing of like, leave me a voicemail and tell me something about yourself. And I'm like, why? And they're like, I just want you to leave me a voicemail and tell me something about yourself. I'm like, but why? And then they started leaving me voicemails just like saying like, oh, tell me something about yourself, blah, blah, blah. Do you only speak one language? And I'm like, these are questions that are fishing questions. Like, I'm not stupid. Like, I take a lot of IT classes at work. You're clearly fishing, trying to get my voice so you can use my voice to like hack something.
Yeah.
Those voice recognition things where you can unlock your pat, like, yeah. So anyway, I'm like, continue to fuck around with this person briefly. And I'm just like, first of all, if you really want to hear my voice, there's fucking hundreds of hours worth of recordings of my voice that you can easily go listen to on YouTube, on records.
Yeah.
Like, you're clearly trying to this is some kind of phishing technique going on. Anyways, I blocked the dude, but
yeah.
it's like, what do you take me for?
It's kind of sad that is the norm pretty much with social human interaction in the digital age. I don't want to sound like this, pushing 50 Luddite, but I am a pushing 50 Luddite, and I don't want to, base my human interactions on these really ridiculous exchanges.
Like if you want to talk to me, come at me like a human being, like a conversation, not like, and it's insulting about it is that the burden of the conversation falls on you.
Yeah.
Because they're not giving you anything to go off of. So you have to come up with this witty conversation. And I'm like, I don't even know you.
Prequel to my wife, there was a very long stretch where I'd stayed away from Facebook and the like. I only got on Facebook legitimately 10 years ago. And that's being pretty liberal. It's probably maybe more like 9. But I gotten onto Facebook, and it was a skin trade, and I didn't realize that. So I pop up on there, and within 45 minutes, I had gotten 3 different women just trying to get me to hook up.
It's so weird.
I didn't realize that was the thrust on social media at that time. I thought that you went to, fetlife.com or something to find these people who wanted you to pee on them. But that's what I was starting to get. And, my first foray onto Facebook lasted 3 days, and I deleted it. And then I went back to it when I started playing in a band again.
Yeah. What's interesting is like a lot of my female friends get like people sending them like dick pics or whatever all the time. Yeah. That's only happened to me like twice in all of these years that I've been on the internet, which, started a long time ago. Pretty much, I mean, it's been a long time now. And like at one point on MySpace, I had like 250,000 friends on my list. Nobody not once on MySpace ever sent me anything inappropriate like that. And it's only happened, I think, twice, like once on Instagram and once on Facebook. And so I don't know if I give off "don't do that to me" vibe.
Well, I think, first and foremost, anyone who knows anything about you knows that you're in Lycia and you're married to Mike. So
do people care? Like, I don't know that random, because it's never people that really. It's like some random, maybe, I don't know. I thought it was just random people that generally did that, not people you actually know.
Yeah, but like, yeah, but people don't have to know you to know you're in Lycia. So, I mean, you start to put 2 and 2 together with that, people are going to pretty soon figure out what the situation is there. So I think that kind of takes the teeth out of any sort of come on. But in the same token, MySpace was geared towards musicians. So I don't think there was a whole lot of come-ons and skin trading going on MySpace. That
Maybe.
that was more like do you remember Friendster?
Yes, I do.
Friendster was more like where you went to go and get laid on a Tuesday
Really?
night. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
weird.
I wasn't on Friendster, but a lot of my
I
friends
was on
were.
Friendster.
I never
Journal.
I was way late to the party. I went from the AOL chat rooms
Yeah.
to nothingness, and then to Facebook. I was on MySpace briefly, but that was like a dummy profile just so I could like see what was going on in music again because I dropped out for so long. But I don't know. I think that even Facebook got past that whole skin trade vibe that was going on at that time when I'd first been brave enough to go back on, but it's hilarious like that
It's
works
hilarious. People are
for
so I get the weird, just random people that are like, hey, hi, how are you? Like, not so much. I mean, I think they're trying to lead it to the pervert stuff, but I
yeah,
cut it off before it, because that shit bores me.
yeah,
But yeah, our first foray into the internet was Talk City. Do you remember Web TV?
yeah.
Was it called Talk City? I think it was
Talks,
Talk City.
yeah.
But it was Web TV, and we got Web TV, and I remember this shows my mentality. The very first web search I ever did was the word poop. Because I'm a very deep person full of a lot of just important thoughts going on in here.
Yeah, yeah.
Suffice to say, that was not a smart first choice.
So you fund a few German Scheisse films, okay?
Oh my God. No, it was a lot of people pooping on like glass tables, I remember.
Oh,
With,
plating. I remember plating. That was a thing.
yeah. Suffice to say, I had no idea that existed. Being little country mouse Tara from Manaway, Ohio. But a girl learns real quick.
I found out about that from the drummer of a very famous straight edge hardcore band.
Ooh.
He came to one of our parties back in the late 90s, and suffice it to say, most of us were in varying degrees of intoxication on whatever substance was handy. And he turned to me and he's like, "Hey, Pete, you ever get a plate job?" I said, "I don't know what that is, but please expound upon this."
Sure.
And it had to do with a glass coffee table and lying beneath it as the receiver of the plate job, whereas the giver is above it, defecating onto the glass. And he just extolled the virtues of this while I laughed at him.
Yeah, I don't
That
know. I'm
sounds
just vanilla.
that sounds disgusting. I mean,
I don't want that.
there's kink in me. There's kink in me, yes.
To each your own, but
That's not my kink. I don't know. Maybe I'm just parochial in my tastes, but that was too much for my poor little heart to bear.
I've got a lot of Midwestern repression.
Yeah.
Anglo-Saxon, Midwest, Protestant, school marm. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, I have the same.
Very vanilla.
I'm less vanilla, but I still have my East Coast Catholic.
Yeah, the guilt thing.
The guilt thing, and like you don't do that to someone you're going to want to kiss on the lips in the morning, kind of thing. And
Here's here's the thing. I'm all for people just doing whatever they want and being happy and
Oh yeah, yeah.
do what you do and don't hurt nobody. And I really, really don't care. I really don't care. I think I'm just old now and I just really don't care at all about anything at
I
all.
think no, I think the only thing I'm celebrating right now within that sphere is the freedom with which people who are non-cisgendered are
Yeah.
allowed to express themselves in a very open and loud and proud way. I mean,
Oh,
it's not just gay or straight anymore.
yeah.
And I had specifically one person in my life precursor to this entire explosion who was transgender,
Yeah.
and she at that time didn't really have a community
Yeah.
in which to thrive. Now she does. Now it's a thing, and it's an important thing.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful.
I just want people to be happy.
I and I think that's what it boils down to. Whether or not I'm batting for that team doesn't
Sure.
matter. What it comes down to is whether or not human beings are enjoying themselves and living a free and unfettered life without,
Yep.
the
Without
fear
wanting
of
to kill themselves every day.
exactly, without fear of reprisal on any
Yep.
side, and I think that's the most important part. So if you're kinky, we're not talking shit on you.
That's right.
we're
Do
just we're just not that kinky.
I just yeah, I feel like I'm more interested in like escapism through daydreaming up stories and thinking about alien life forms and alternate dimensions. Like that's my thing. Like
Yeah,
that's my thing. Like I couldn't care less about sex and all. I mean, whatever, it's whatever. I'm more interested in escapism like that, creativity and um I don't know. That's more interesting to me personally.
sure, but I mean, you can inject that into sex, but you could, but the fact of the matter is like there's kind of like a place for all of it within the greater sphere of human life. But yeah, I mean, like, to be stimulated in a creative and intellectual manner is as erogenous as anything else. I think is kind of like the point, because there's, parts is parts. We all have them.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But
One of
if
this, two of the other.
but if the pineal gland isn't tingling as well, then you're really just pissing into the wind.
Well, isn't there a saying like your brain is the biggest sex organ or something like
It
that?
absolutely is. The imagination is the most erogenous of zones, and that's why we have David Lynch. That's why we have David Cronenberg. That's what, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's why I was gonna say something that I'm like, that would have sounded weird. Something about vampire films, but it
Well,
didn't.
vampire films are inherently sexual. I mean, it's the feeding of energy through penetrating. You know what I mean? It's inherently sexual. It's ubiquitous in its allusions to sex.
Yeah, and don't even like talk about Batman.
Well, Jesus Christ.
Hey, now we have a vampire Batman.
Now we have a vampire Batman, and let me tell you, I've never seen a Batman film so close to the movie Taxi Driver
Yeah.
as this one. I mean, it's so well. Oh my God. And we had the discussion and you called me on it. I was shitting on it like, oh, Robert Pattinson, he twinkled in the sunlight as a vampire. You're
Yeah.
like, that movie's not even for you, dickweed.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Exactly.
yeah, you're kind of right. Yeah, okay, I'll take that one on the chin. But
Yeah.
boy, did he really
He's
fucking
so
nailed
good.
that. He fucking nailed that.
Everybody, I mean, first of all, there wasn't a bad actor in that. I mean, they're all
No, they're all
at the top of their
fantastic.
game. But like the writing was so good. And like there's this subtle stuff that like Robert Pattinson does with his eyes and like That's one of the things, because like I follow a lot of DC profiles and junk like that, and like that was one of the things that a lot of people talked about is like usually Batman, when he's got his mask off, you can't really read emotion. Like he's pissed, whatever. But
Yeah.
like just the way Robert Pattinson uses his eyes to act, like so much is like nonverbal, but you're really getting it, you know? But I don't know. I just thought it was super, like I'm bummed I haven't watched it again.
I've watched it 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, I saw it once in the theater, and since it hit HBO, it's been on. Okay.
Yeah,
It's just like
more.
I'm fucking around at work watching it. I'm like, for a million different reasons too. I mean,
The music was fantastic.
everything about it, the cinematography was brilliant. I mean, that whole scene with the car crash with the penguin when everything's upside down.
Oh my god.
Everything about it was, and Zoe Kravitz, I mean,
He's so good.
oh.
So when you that scene, the car chase scene, I don't think I breathed that. I mean, like my eyes were huge and like just like gripping the seat, like watching it. And like I had such a fangirl thing, like Penguin thinks he's safe, he thinks that he got him, and then you see the car come through those flames, and then he gets out and is walking towards them, and there's the flames in the background, and like it's upside down, so he's like literally a bat. Oh my god, it's so good. Like it, like I wanted, it's such a dork thing, but I wanted to just like fist pump and like such a dork.
Really,
so
because
good.
If you want to get down to like, and anybody who wants to argue me on this, fine, but this was the only performance in the last 30 some years of Batman that rivaled and at some points beat Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale Batman. Because
I think he's better. And I first, let me start by saying I literally love all of it.
Yeah.
Varying degrees. My favorite prior to, I mean, it's really hard because I actually really like Ben Affleck as Batman. I think
so do I.
He physically looks good. He just the way he looks in the suit. He's huge. First
handsome
of all,
as fuck. Handsome as fuck. Like
he
just beautiful
so,
man.
Like suave and like whatever. But I like them all.
Yeah.
But like Robert Pattinson has this, like, and I think because he's younger, maybe.
No.
Because he's only like year two. He's only like year 2 Batman, so he's still baby. Like he's not. He hasn't even figured out who he is yet. You know what I mean?
He's the most affected, and Christian Bale did a good job of being an affected and tortured Batman.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson embodies the raw nerve at the center of the psyche of Bruce Wayne / Batman, like no one has ever done, because it's still fresh.
Yeah.
Because he is your Batman year 2. He's still he's still finding his footing.
And I thought it was brilliant, like that at the beginning of the film when you just hear his footsteps and like nobody knows where he is, like and like just the fear of him potentially showing up is enough to put people, like they see the bat symbol and they're like, is he coming after me? I better quit but that was super cool. But I think one of the reasons why I like Batfleck so much too is because he's old and grizzled and just like don't give a fuck no more. And he's like smashing people's heads. But like one of my favorite freaking scenes is that scene where he goes to save those girls that are being kept as sex slaves. And they're just as scared of him as the cops are and as the guy he's coming after. And there's that one scene where the cops are walking down a hall and you can see them in the back corner up at the ceiling. It's like straight out of a horror film.
It's straight vampire shit.
Oh my god, that's
straight vampire shit.
That gives me wood, dude. We're talking about kink. That like give me a good superhero movie. I'm like, God, it's so good.
Well, let's get down to this too. Um, another big reason why this Batman really affected me more so than any other was the interplay between Alfred and Bruce
Yeah,
Wayne in this, because
it was different.
it's different because it was before he realized, or before he
Mm-hmm.
internalized the fact that Alfred is dad.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is the first time that his parents were flawed.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, every visage of the Waynes was stately
Yep.
and squeaky clean, no smut on their nose.
Yep.
This time around, they're just as fucked up as everyone
Yeah.
else in high society
Yeah.
within the context of Gotham's elite.
Yeah.
Who
And that
who
hasn't messed with his mind.
Yeah, because most of which, as far as Gotham's elite were concerned, in this story, everybody's somehow tied to Carmine Falcone.
Sure.
Didn't happen in the other ones. This time around, the Waynes are just as intrinsically tied into the Falcone mafia family as anyone else.
Yeah.
Still, there's still a valiant effort involved there because dad was covering up for mom's mental
Right.
illnesses,
Like
whatever.
they were corrupt, but like begrudgingly corrupt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Just as Batman is begrudgingly corrupt.
Right. Oh my
Because
God, though, how about that scene too at the end? Spoiler alert.
mm,
Towards the end, when he's talking to the Riddler
yeah,
and he keeps going, Bruce Wayne.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you can see the look in his face like, does this guy know who I am? Like, am I going to have to kill this motherfucker? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, is the jig up?
hmm and it's
Oh,
it's really like the ubiquitous Arkham Asylum scene. I've never seen Arkham painted in such a stark light. Like, it's always gothic. It's always,
yeah. God, it's
like,
so good.
oh man, like people are going to remember this one 20 years from now and be like, yeah, we were kind of wrong about that, because people are
And they
pissing.
need to eat their words on Pattinson too, because
I
if
did.
I have to tell you, this kind of gets on my nerves. Like people are like, oh, he's not big, he's not big. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's bigger than Christian Bale. He's
Yeah.
bigger than Michael Keaton. He's bigger. I mean, not big. What? Like I literally pulled up a side by side of Christian Bale shirtless as Batman and Pattinson shirtless as Batman. I'm like, look, they're the exact
Yeah.
same, except for that Pattinson's like several inches taller than him. Like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? Oh, he's like this skinny little guy. I'm like, no, he's not. What are you?
He's fucking shredded. Get the fuck out of here. Like,
I think people don't want to let him be anything but Edward Cullen. And I'm like, have you seen his other movies? Like,
well, they never. Here's the thing: these are people who had never seen Cosmopolis, which is David
which I still
Cronenberg.
need to see.
Did you see it yet?
No.
Oh, Tara, Cosmopolis is that's it's like watching a poem. And Cronenberg, he's the ultimate body horror. He made Videodrome, he made The Brood, he made Scanners. He made a lot of really fucked up horror movies. But then in his second act, Eastern Violence into History of Violence. That was the two banger with Viggo Mortensen. And then right after those two, he did this movie, Cosmopolis. And most of it takes place in the back of a limousine. And Robert Pattinson plays this captain of industry who runs like a tech company. And he's somehow lost his soul along the way. And the entirety of this movie is, the breakdown of how a human being loses their humanity to their lust for money.
Yeah.
And he pulled it off in a way that was very human, to the point where he's a terrible person and you're still empathizing with him, because he didn't create the game. He just became a part of it and mastered it.
Yeah.
And you feel bad for him because he's just mastering a world that he didn't choose. He's just learning to play the game in the best way possible.
Right.
So you kind of can't blame him for being a son of a bitch.
I'll have to check that one out. I mean, it like legit, I think the only movies I've seen him in are the Twilight movies because I'm that bitch and I will stay that. And and Batman and The Lighthouse, which we watched. Mike watched The Lighthouse. I think I was doing, what was I doing? I might have been doing another podcast or something. So he watched The Lighthouse by himself. No, he watched it during the day. That's right. And he's like, you got to watch this movie, dude. So he watched it again with me later that day. And I'm just like, I don't even know what to feel about this, but holy hell. First of all, it's visually stunning.
Gorgeous movie.
But the acting is, I mean,
look at who's in it.
The fact that, I mean, just the accents alone.
You're a wiki. That'll stick in my head forever.
Yeah.
You're a wiki.
It's just so good. It's so beautiful. And like, okay, I mean, I know a lot of people didn't like that movie, The Witch, but I loved that. I mean, that's like one of those movies that was so uncomfortable to me.
I got this goat tattooed on my elbow. That's Black Phillip.
Yeah.
That's why I got this tattoo. I love The Witch.
It was so beautiful and like it was so effective to me. Like the fact that there was no music, like nothing. Yeah. And just the muted colors and people didn't like the ending. And I remember the ending going, what the fuck?
That's the rug getting pulled right up. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
And then, oh my God. And then the witches are like ascending. And I'm like, people thought it was stupid. And I'm like, it's literally like folklore. That's exactly what people thought of witches.
That's the ultimate folk horror movie. I mean, that's right up there with The Wicker Man.
Yeah.
And oh God, Kill List is another incredible. Do you ever see Kill List?
No, I don't know that one.
You have to see this movie. Kill List will fuck your mind up. But as far as folk horror is concerned, in my opinion, the ultimate trilogy of said genre would definitely be the original Wicker Man, Kill List, and The Witch.
Okay.
And that's really three eras of incredible filmmaking, which the Kill List and The Witch are closer by a long shot, because The Wicker Man's from the 70s. I mean,
yeah, sure. Unless you want to watch that Nicolas Cage one.
Oh God, fuck that movie. Fuck that movie.
But I can't wait to see him as Nosferatu.
Oh, I'm so stoked for it. But Nicolas Cage has had such a great third act.
Yeah.
No one can deny it. All the horror movies he's done thus far, be it the Lovecraft film, The Color Out of Space, which was brilliant, and more importantly, Mandy, which was a masterpiece. And I just
like that he doesn't take himself so damn seriously.
He doesn't, but he's so fucking good that he doesn't have to. Did you see Pig yet?
No, but it's really hard for us to watch anything that's like weird like that because we have a 10-year-old in the house. But
Pig's not that weird. And furthermore, I was reduced to tears by the movie Pig.
Really?
He should have gotten an Oscar for it. He got a lot of other accolades for Pig. That's kind of like responsible for why Hollywood film houses are taking Nicolas Cage seriously again, is because of this movie. But Pig, it's such a simple plot. He was a chef.
Yeah.
He was a Michelin rated chef nonetheless, who dropped out of the limelight because his significant other passed away, and he just reverted into a more simplistic existence by buying a truffle pig.
Yeah.
And he and his truffle pig hunt down truffles in Portland. Shout out Softkill. Always. And they're running around the woods of Portland finding truffles, and he's making these gourmet quiche meals and stuff for he and his pig.
Oh.
He has this really deep, loving.
Stolen, right?
Yeah, and the pig gets stolen by a bunch of meth heads. And the meat of the film is Nicolas Cage hunting down these people that stole this truffle pig. And it's such an emotional tour de force that you actually forget that he's hunting down a pig. It's it's a very loving, very,
Aw.
it's an emotionally affecting trip. It's a masterpiece. It's brilliant. It's another one of those movies that in my opinion will be there, like it'll hang in the subconscious like
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs does, or like not only the original Nosferatu, but almost as importantly Werner Herzog's Nosferatu with Klaus Kinski and Isabella
Yeah.
Gianni in the 70s, which is
That,
gorgeous.
Mike and I had never seen that before. I know, whatever. But we just watched it. I mean, God, it's probably been a couple years now, but that is such a beautiful film. Like it's so pretty.
It's so emotionally jarring to
Yeah.
watch because Werner Herzog, the guy's a genius. There's no question. No other director in mainstream filmmaking has taken both the documentary form and the regular cinematic form and juggled them so seamlessly. I mean, he went from making documentaries about like that guy who was mauled by grizzlies
Yeah, 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 yeah.
to
That was-
making like to directing Nicolas Cage in the unheralded and equally amazing sequel, Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. Most people haven't even seen this movie.
I've
You
never
remember
even
the?
heard of it.
Did you ever see the original Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel?
No.
Early '90s psychosis. Like Harvey Keitel's this police lieutenant that's an awful person, but a nun gets raped and it just affects him in this really deep way.
Uh-huh.
And he goes on this almost vigilante rampage trying to find the person who raped this nun. But this is the sequel to it that has nothing to do with the original. But Nicolas Cage is this drug-addled homicide detective in New Orleans. Amazing to watch. But
Hmm.
there's like legitimately, where are you going to find a director who's going to go from making a documentary about this guy who was mauled by grizzlies in real life to making a movie like that?
Right.
It's kind of incredible. And I know I go off on tangents. I apologize.
You don't need to apologize. I'm like tangent queen. What are you talking about? We started off talking about boobs being smashed. What the hell?
I still don't think women's boobs should be smashed. That's just no boob smashing in 2023.
Not a good feeling. Oh, oh my god. Um, no, but I'm looking forward to this Nosferatu with I cannot for the life of me think of the director's name right now.
I
But
can't either, but the title of the film is Renfield because it's
no, no,
centered.
no, not that one. Not that one. Actual Nosferatu, the guy that did Lighthouse and The Witch and
Oh, that got killed.
Nosferatu with Willem Dafoe.
That got killed.
No, it's back.
It's back.
Yeah.
Well, this is the second time Willem Dafoe played Max Schreck
No.
/ Nosferatu because what was it? The oh my god, something of the vampire.
Yeah, I did see. Is it Kiss it? Oh, no, that's
Kiss of no. That's Nicolas Cage.
What the
That's
hell is it
Nicolas
called?
Cage. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to look it up, but it presupposes that Max Schreck, who played Nosferatu in the original silent film, was actually a vampire.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I've seen that movie a long time ago.
And Murnau was played by a younger Carrie Elways. He's like, why didn't you just eat the script, girl? I'll eat her later.
You
So
know,
good.
my problem is that I have like no memory. And actually, I did find out that part of that is this liver thing, weirdly enough. But
Really?
so like I can watch a movie and then almost forget everything about it. And so every time I watch it, it's like awesome again.
You are so lucky because listen, as you can tell, I have an almost photographic memory when it comes to films that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I envy that. Like I actually really envy people that can keep information like forefront in their like you like I can't tell you song titles and people's names and band name. I can't remember. I don't know what my problem is, but so I'm super jealous of people who can like retain everything and like keep it like an encyclopedia because I don't have that and I always like get oh I'm just stupid and I'm like I can't help it. It's not like I choose to forget information.
You
I
don't
just
think that kind of strips the magic out of it though, to have retained so much that there are no surprises with a return viewing?
yeah, but I wish I could like oh I love this one book. I can't remember. You know what I mean? Like I would like to be able to remember like the title and the author that wrote it. Like I
Yeah.
can't. But yeah, I mean, I get it's good and bad
I
because
remember producers, I remember like ridiculous stuff.
I wish I could do that.
Like
It's really
I can
frustrating.
tell you every month of every year that every single by the band The Smiths came out. I could in order, legitimately. That's
I couldn't,
ridiculous.
like I couldn't go through my own discography and do that.
Oh, I could.
I know
I
you could.
I could
I
rattle it
couldn't.
right off.
I'm horrible. And it's not because I don't care. I just I can't do it. I don't know. If you told me right now, write the names of the songs on your last solo album, and that's like so there's no excuse. I wrote every song. I
Yeah.
couldn't. And it, like I said, it's not because I don't care. I don't know if my brain just goes, okay, we're done with this right now. Let's set it aside and move on to the next thing.
It's because it's been too long since you've had a solo album. I'm just putting that out there.
Well, it's going to be a lot longer.
Oh God, come on.
Uh, I was just talking to Mike about that the other day. I'm like, my music is so fucking weird. Like, if I could go back, like, if I could go back, I would probably cut the length of those songs in half at least. Some of them probably
No, they
farther.
were so meditative. That's what I like. That's what I liked about it. There was like you could get into it and there was space to breathe.
Well, that's
It's
what I liked about it at the time. But now in retrospect, I'm like, did Naked King really need to be like an hour and a half long?
well, but let's face facts. It was meditative in its entire oeuvre. You know that's what it was. It was exactly what it was supposed to be when it happened, and I will
Yeah,
fight
for
you on
sure.
that.
That's for sure. I mean, I did what I felt was right at the time for sure. But now I'm like, bro, no one's
Yeah, but
listening
you're
to that song for 8.5 minutes or however long. I don't even know how long it is. I'm like, no one wants to listen to that for your hour and a half that
yeah,
you
but
did.
you're not writing like Tori Amos 2.5 minute pop songs either.
That's
That it's not what it was. It was more in line with Diamond de Galas. Like it had that kind of sweeping epic. There was almost a Led Zeppelin of it all. And I've told you that before. There's a very Led Zeppelin aspect to those solo albums, just in the Eastern vibes and the fact that you were willing to experiment and you allowed yourself to that space to kind of explore. Very Led Zeppelin-esque. And
yeah. I
I know
think
I know you don't see that. I've mentioned it to you before and you didn't see it the last time either, but I definitely feel it.
for me, it's just a lack of any kind of I don't want to say talent. That's not the right word. I think it comes from a naive place because I don't have any like formal training or
That's the
so
punk
I just
rock
kind
of it all.
yeah, I mean I agree. I agree. I don't it but like I hesitate to call myself a musician because I feel like I'm more of a I don't know what to call it.
You're a
Sound
songwriter.
sound artist? I don't know.
Songwriter.
I
You're a
guess.
songwriter, which
I
makes you a musician.
I guess.
Yes. Do you think I'm a musician? No, no. I scream
I
and I
guess
yell and I caterwaul. That's what I
I'm
do.
so jealous of people that can like pick up an instrument and just fucking play. I'm not that person, but it is what it
No,
is.
nor am I. That's not what I am either. I'm an accompaniment, but
Yeah,
you
I'm
know,
an instrument. I'm an instrument. I feel like within like with Lycia, I'm just another instrument in the wash of instrument. Like I believe I really think that. And I don't
the
think that I don't say that in a negative way. I think
yeah,
that
but the entire album Estrella begs to differ. Just saying
I don't know. I
that
guess. No,
Estrella, if any Lycia album is the Terra album, it's Estrella.
that's yeah, I for sure. I feel like that's the only one really.
No, everything thereafter is very affected by you, whether or not your presence is as at the fore. But that record, I mean, it was like a mission statement almost to me. Like, okay, this is the next phase.
That
So
was definitely the case because I mean that was a weird time for us because when we went out and played all those songs live
yeah,
before we recorded them. So and that was like a weird time because Mike wasn't singing anymore, and I'm sure a lot of people were like, "What the fuck?" But yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
those shows, I booked one of them. Those shows were fantastic. That tour was fantastic.
Oh, it was definitely. I mean, it was definitely fun, fun. But it bums me out because I finally had gotten past any amount of apprehension about doing it, and then it was all over. But
Yeah,
that's life, man.
that's I mean that's punk rock in at its core, though. I mean, you guys brought a full package on a shoestring in a very small vehicle on
That's
a
100% accurate.
oh god on a very lengthy tour.
Yeah, it's so funny because I see, like, of course, Softkill just got back from their tour and stuff, and I'm like, God, how nice it would be to be, 15 years younger and to be able to go out and do all that and stuff. And I mean, I'm jealous in a happy way. Like I'm
Yeah,
not jealous to like, "Ugh, I don't get to do it." It's more like a dang man. Like that would have been so fun to be able to go out and I see. Oh my God, whose tour did I see the other day? Someone I can't think of who it was, but somebody posted their itinerary, and I was just like, oh my God! It was like almost every single day for like months, and just, I'm like, do it, man, do it while you can do it, because it
yeah.
doesn't last forever, you
No,
know.
you burn out so fast.
Well, and God, you don't know where your life is going to take you because everyone, when you're doing it, you think this is it, this is life, this is what I'm going to be doing, and then fucking something hits you, and then it's over, you know?
You have to remember, though, these people, and I'm not taking anything away from these younger bands, they do it with cell phones and with Google Maps.
That's true.
We did it with road atlases and
Oh my gosh,
payphones.
yes. Poor Mike, man, driving the van, reading a map because I can't fucking. I'm like, I sound like really dumb on paper. I can't read a map. He's a cartographer, for Christ's sake, and he's like,
Yeah,
show me. I'm like, I don't know where. I don't know. No, it would be so easy. Just like, okay, the map's telling me where to go now.
hmm
But yeah, I don't know. It's just a bummer. It's like we've said it 1,000 times. We're always either too early or too late. Like it's just like all this equipment that exists now that would have just like fixed all of our problems back in the day,
yeah.
and then but you're too old to do. I mean, and it's not an age thing, but it's just a life thing. It's just too much.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all, as musicians, reach a point where we recognize that yes, they have it all over us because technology's there and the world's there right now.
Yeah.
But in the same token, we were achieving what we did when we did it. And in the face of those odds,
That's true.
it's kind of amazing that we even survived it.
I don't know if you know who Sylvain is, but I sang with her on the Ice On record.
Yeah.
She messaged me the other day. She's like, Tara, I'm going to be in Arizona. If you can come down, like, that would be awesome. I'm like, okay, well, where are you playing and when? And of course, it's like this Sunday. And I'm like, oh, I get up literally at like 3:30 every day. Like, I can't. Yeah. But she's playing the Nile Theater, which we played back in 94 or 5 or whatever. And I said to her, I'm like, oh yeah, we played there back in the 90s. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so old. And she's like this young girl, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
It's such a, like, yeah, we did that a long time ago. But it's this whole age thing is so weird. Like, I just turned 50 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I never ever prior got like weird about turning ages because I'm just like, whatever, it's just another fucking day, whatever. Yeah. 50 was weird for me, and I think it was because of all the health stuff that just came up. That's like real health stuff. It's not just like, you need to lose weight. Like, it's like real health stuff.
It's mortality. Yeah. Or
like,
at least it feels mortal.
Right. And like, I do math in my head of like, okay, I'm 50, Dirk's 10. When I'm 60, he's this. When, I like do this scary math in my head. And then all this stuff going on. And then like, I posted that meme thing that was like, what's the first news story that you can remember? Yeah. And like, I'm like, okay, the first news story I can remember is Elvis dying.
Yeah.
And Mike and I were like, well, what's the first thing you remember? And his was like, I can't even remember what he told me now. Fuck.
Probably the Kennedy assassination.
I think it was something earlier than that even, actually. But it was something like he was telling me like, yeah, I remember all the like death tolls up from the Vietnam War every night. And just like, anyways, all this stuff. And then I'm reading through the comments on my post. And like one kid's like, when Kurt Cobain died, and I'm like, fuck, I was like a full-grown woman.
Yeah, I was in college when that happened. Like, come on.
And then another girl's like, Mike's like, someone's gonna say 9/11. And sure enough, I'm like, oh, bless your sweet summer soul. Like, it just, how does it, and I'm sure you feel like this. Like, yeah. I'm friends with a lot of really young people, and I don't feel like I'm that much older, but I'm like, I could be your mother.
But you're not. And that's the thing. So like, I hasten to say this because my wife listens to everything I do, but like, I get hit on by girls that are younger than my daughter. And
yeah, creepy, right?
It blows my mind because like, I feel so fatherly like, I'm not a creeper. Yeah. I feel very like paternal towards these girls, especially if they're subculture girls. Like, hey, I can probably save you a step in like, or something,
Let me help you before you
before something
don't
goes
hit on boys my age.
Yeah, like, number one, do you see the fact that I don't have hair and can't grow it? This isn't a style choice. I'm just old as fuck. But like, I look at these kids, and yes, I like the hip hop that they like still, and I like a lot of the stuff that they like. But at the end of the day, my first memory, or one of them, would have been Jimmy Carter leaving office.
Yes, I remember that too.
They don't remember who Jimmy Carter is. They don't even know who Jimmy Carter is.
Or they know him as that Habitat for Humanity guy.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, they write an article about,
Or they know his predecessor as the guy who talked about aliens in a summit once. When Reagan talked about the
yeah. We actually just watched, what did we watched this documentary called Sirius.
Yeah, Sirius is great.
It was really good. I liked it. Mm-hmm. And I think they showed that in that. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I totally had forgotten about that. Like, people used to think Reagan was a total cuckoo bird because he talked about aliens and stuff back then. Yeah.
He was prepping us.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think, is like, slowly let the information out.
Well, I mean, we're at a point right now, Tara, where like the U.S. military, like the Air Force specifically, released videos, and strangely enough, because of Tom DeLonge from Blink
I
182,
know. That's hilarious.
like he's at the forefront of UFO, declassification. And the Air Force is like, listen, here's the tic tac thing that we
Yeah.
followed for umpteen hours. It did things that,
Someone literally just sent me that article about that today.
yeah,
I mean, I already knew it because that's one of the things we obsess over. But it's funny that you bring that up randomly because someone legit just sent me that link a couple hours ago.
and after this past few months when so many things have happened in that sphere, it's kind of amazing that we live in a time period where you're not looked at as a whack job for saying, hey, listen, when I was such and such age, my mother and I, or my partner and I, or whomever you were with, saw this happen.
Right.
You're no longer a conspiracy theory weirdo or a schizophrenic or what have you. Like, people see this shit.
Right. So what do you think about okay, so Dr. Stephen Greer.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that whole thing where they sort of will like go out into the desert or wherever and like meditate and supposedly call these beings to them.
Yeah.
So I have mixed feelings about it because on the one hand, I mean they've got photographs and they've got video
Yeah.
and whatever. And I think they earnestly believe what they say. On the other hand, I'm like, what if those aren't aliens and it's like demonic or like, like some kind of other spiritual entity got, under the guise of this loving. That's where I get weirded out because I'm
Well,
like,
I refuse to believe, and I'm 1,000,000% with you, because I refuse to believe that there's anything altruistic with intelligence out there in the greater sphere of the universe. There's going to be, just like us, your positive and negative forces. So if you like Stephen Greer is very interesting, but take him out of the equation for a minute and think of the Secretary of Defense of Canada.
right.
Like 8 years ago, he came out in Parliament in Canada and spoke about his knowledge of legitimate flotillas of UFOs in Canadian airspace, and the fact that the Canadian military knew about not only one race of alien visitors but several,
Yeah.
and began to name off these different
Yeah.
civilizations, some, like, most of which were not good at all. One or maybe two had good intentions. The rest were conquistadors in their way, or at the very least locust, here for our resources, here for this, here for that. That and that to me makes more sense than some sort of, messianic, altruistic race coming to save us from ourselves. Maybe there is one, I'd buy even two, but in the greater sense of things, we know what the nature of living beings is. Most of them are going to be here for resources, for food, for a place to escape.
My only counter to that would be a couple things. One, if let's pretend we don't know about different races of aliens or whatever.
Right.
And these are just time travelers.
That may, and I've thought of that as well, like
Yeah.
interdimensional time travel.
Or people coming from the future to fix things before they get, whatever.
Right.
Or the other thing being like, well, if these people seeded the earth, then it would be in their best interest to take care of us. if
Yeah.
if they were the ones that seeded this place to begin with. But I mean, first of all, it's all just theories. There's no whatever you say is just as valid as the next theory, right? Because there's no way to know at this point in time what the hell's going on.
No. There's
But I think it's fascinating, like
Mhm.
you know, because we watch a lot of this stuff. Like we got the Gaia Network.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
So fun.
there's like so much
fun.
stuff on there. And I can't, again, because I don't have this capacity to remember things. There's this one story, there's this one show we watch, and one of the guys that was in Sirius is actually one of the hosts. But they bring different guests on and stuff and talk about it. And there's a guy that comes on there. I think he's Swedish. I think he was in this like high up in the Swedish military or something in government or something. But he talks about how there's like 10 known alien races, and he goes into like detail, and you're like, on the surface, when all these people are telling their stories, on the surface, you want to just go, come on.
Yeah.
But like when you listen to them talk, and there's so much detail, and there's so much like deeply seated detail, like callback to previous stuff. Like there's no way you could keep that fucking story straight.
No, with that much mythos behind every civilization. I mean,
and also from like person to person with the same bits of knowledge that aren't connected, and just like, so it makes me go, okay, well, clearly there's something to this. You know what I mean? What is it? I don't know. It is whatever. It's fascinating.
It's amazing.
It's fun to like, you know, think about and stuff. And I'm like sitting here, God, with everything that's going on in our fucking world right now, between like war and people just being off their effing rocker, not being able to like see the truth from fiction, you know, fact from fiction, and like believing just off the wall crazy conspiracy. And I'm not talking aliens is sane compared to stuff people are. I watched, I think I posted it on Instagram in my stories or whatever, this woman talking about how that's not really Joe Biden, that's Jim Carrey in a fucking mask. And I'm like, and she believes it. And I'm like, we are doomed, like doomed.
Oh man.
And so I'm just like, but peaceful, loving aliens, please.
Yeah. Like
fix it. Like fucking fix it. Like whoever, master of the universe, somebody effing fix this, because it's so mental when you have like, I was talking to somebody today about like, people won't believe science anymore, and they'll just be like, yeah, I don't believe that, because they keep changing it. Like, yeah, science changes.
Yeah, that's
learn.
That's the point. That's the whole.
God, it's so painful.
I'm gonna go check on. I gotta go check on Kanan. I'll be right back. Give me 2 seconds.
Enjoy. Tell him I said hi.
I will.
Here we are going off on aliens. But let me tell you, I don't believe that I'm not smart either. Like, I'm just a person that doesn't know anything about anything. But fuck. Trust the doctors. I mean, not all of them. Okay, I just contradicted myself. Look how big my arm looks. What is even this? See my new lights back there? Just got those. What records does he have back there today? Can't see it on my glasses on. Oh, I'm getting new glasses tomorrow. I should be picking them up in the morning. I'm hoping that they're there. I can't tell what he's got back there because of my eyes. So how are y'all? Let's have a little tete-a-tete. Is that how it goes? Is that the word? Is that the phrase? Check out my hair. It's not good today. I had like all of this static that came up into my hair. came up into my hair. That doesn't even make sense. Let me tell you, my whole head is completely stuffed with allergy snot. My brain's not functioning very well, which is very impactful on a brain that already doesn't function very well. So anyway, how are you? Freaked me out. Oh my god, dude, when I was over here talking to myself and then I go,
Yeah.
well, anyway, how are you? And then I heard this squeaking sound, but it was your door. But it was the timing of it. I was like, what was that?
Well, what's amazing about that is my sister, my youngest sister Samantha, hits me up maybe like 3 weeks ago. And we grew up in a house that was haunted. You and I have spoken about that before.
Yes.
She lives not too far away, but far enough away from that particular home that it wouldn't make sense for that to cross pollinate. But she hits me up. She's like, listen, the basement door has been opening of its own volition often enough that it's concerning.
Ew.
My kids have been not only smelling burning things, but smelling like weird things like flowers and vanilla. And none of them will go near our basement. Now,
Ew.
the basement door is the door that's been opening and closing of its own volition. It just so happens that my late father, right before he passed away, lived in that basement apartment. Now, her significant other believes that the entity responsible for this is my father. As a believer in our Lord and Savior, I don't believe that's my dad down there. I believe it's something other. So does my sister, so does the rest of my family. So next week I'm going over there with cameras and audio equipment, and I'm going to figure out what is going on in that basement, and I know it's not dad.
Oh my god, that's so
But
scary.
I'm bringing holy water, I'm smudging myself, I'm going for it.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary. You should make Tim
Yeah,
go.
I know. I'm stoked to be terrified though, which is
See, I can't do
which
it.
is that it doesn't kind of like get you going in any way, shape, or form to face something like that.
Here's the thing. I I'm super interested in it, obviously, but
Yeah.
I'm so afraid of cracking that door back open.
Mm,
I
I
can't,
get that.
I can't crack it back open. It's too like I already have scary dreams every so often anyway
Hmm.
that I know are more than just a scary dream. So to like even toy around stuff, I just don't do it because as fascinated as I am by certain things, it's not worth the risk to me to mentally open up something that was really hard to get out of in the first place.
Right. Right.
So,
But in the
yeah.
same token, I think if you were to, fully and completely protect yourself in a spiritual fashion by, having your holy waters and smudging yourself and having tourmaline necklaces on and the like.
I'm not sure entities give a fuck about any of that. That's stuff that we came up with. I'm not sure.
True. But
So that's kind of where I stand on it. It's kind of like, okay, well, where's the handbook? Like, who told you that that's a fact?
well,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
but
it is simple.
my take on that is if you have enough faith in whatever it is that you're using to arm yourself against it, that is just as powerful as anything that whatever other exists can dish out. I mean, human faith is a very deep spiritual faith, and it is a very powerful weapon.
I
So the
agree.
depth,
I
the,
agree.
yeah.
But I also feel like I'm still just a human and that's their world, not mine. And so how can I like really know?
because it's your world too. We're just tethered to carbon, that this is just a vessel that drives the spirit. I mean, and okay, that may sound very woo to people, like, oh, pizza weirdo, but in all actuality, we are creatures driven by electrical impulses that are
Sure.
directed by our consciousness. Therefore, we are electricity. Therefore, we can neither be created nor destroyed, only amplified and distributed. And
Right.
that's coming from Ohm's law, an electrician's handbook. So,
Sure. I do
you know,
believe, I mean, electricity goes someplace. It doesn't just cease to exist. But
no,
yeah,
it goes directly into the earth. It goes into the earth and it communes with other energies. That's the truth of the matter. Where it goes from there, we couldn't know. But, energy is forever. There's no it just decimates into the earth itself. It doesn't die, it doesn't go away, it doesn't lose power. Therefore, you concentrate that energy in any direction, it's going to have an effect. So if I'm going to check out whatever's disturbing my sister's peace, and I approach it with a purity of heart, a purity of spirit, with intent, I fully believe that I can be freaked out. It can scare me, but it can't do anything to me that's indelible.
yeah, and I mean, I obviously believe that too, because I believe, obviously I'm a Christian or whatever.
Yes.
But like, stuff sticks with me too hard. Like, I quit watching certain types of movies because I can't let it go.
Yeah.
And so if something really freaks me out, it sticks with me. And I don't think that's a good thing. So I just don't go near it.
Right.
I, I,
And
I
that's
tiptoe around
wise.
because I'm interested, but I don't actively get involved. You know what I mean?
Well,
And that kind of goes back to my past of how I got out of it in the first place. It was like such a weird thing. It's such a weird experience. And, whoever I was talking to was like, promise me don't do this again. And so I'm like,
and
I took that to heart, man.
I find that to be very incredible, that a spirit that was using that conduit, which is a Ouija board, specifically to say to
Right.
you, please don't do this again.
It's very confusing to me. Like
It,
that whole thing is very confusing to me.
to me, it's proof that there is something benevolent on the other side,
For
if
sure.
anything, because why would a deceptive, negative force go out of its way to expend such energy to say to you, promise me you're never going to do this again?
Yeah, it was so weird. I agree because like yeah, that whole situation was just very odd and like uh, you know, I'll never have an answer. Well, maybe one day when I'm gone, but
Yeah.
it's just a very peculiar peculiar experience, I guess. But I took that to heart and, never went back. And that was even before I was a Christian. So,
Yeah.
you
How
know,
late in life did you come to Christianity exactly?
early, I mean, I was like what, 21 or 22. I mean, I was pretty young.
Yeah.
And I wasn't anti-Christianity or anything like that. I just was, it was always peripherally peripherally around,
Yeah.
and I didn't have a negative connotation towards the religion itself or anything like that. I was just more kind of whatever people believe they believe, and there's, take a piece of this, take a piece of that, take a piece of that, take a piece of that, and do whatever with it. Um, but that whole experience was weird. And then when I met people later that kind of led me down the Christian path, it was very, I couldn't deny what I felt and the things that happened. So whatever. But it was yeah, I don't know, just a weird. But I don't tiptoe around that stuff because I ain't about to start going back and having that crap happen again.
And I'm maybe this is a very masculine, flawed masculine idea, but I've always seen not only Christianity as a faith, but as sort of like my sword.
Mm-hmm.
And that I have no fear of such situations. Whereas having grown up in a home that was very psychically active in a very negative way, instilled a lot of terror in my young psyche. Whereas now it's freaky in its way, but I don't feel an existential or mortal terror tied to something that goes bump in the night specifically. I'm
Yeah,
more.
kind of. What happens to me with this is that I think, could I go into that situation and be fine? Sure.
Mhm.
I know I could. But the Bible also says do not tempt the Lord your God. So don't throw yourself off a cliff if you don't gotta.
Right.
So that's kind of like, could I
Yeah,
do
but
that?
should I?
Right. So for me, it's not something that I'm compelled to do. I'm super fascinated by it, and I want to hear all your stories, and I want to hear everybody else's stories, and I want to talk about it, and but I want to be on the sidelines. And
I think there's a very big baby sister, oldest brother kind of vibe to this too, where it's like
yeah,
I march in with a defiance that says you don't screw with my people,
I can see
especially
that.
not my little sisters. Like, I'm going to have that tragically male, flawed, self-righteous power on my side where I'm just gonna march down like, you're fucking with my sisters.
Well, I can see that though, because it's an active situation.
Yeah.
It is directly related to you. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So yeah, I mean, I completely get that. Completely get that.
So we'll see how that pans out. But it does remind me of the situation that we'd all sort of grown up in and came of age in, that is utterly terrifying, which
Yeah.
my sister's the sister I'm speaking of, my sister Samantha, is the only other sibling of mine that experienced my imaginary friend
That's freaky.
Bart. Like, I'd seen him and experienced him, and my sister closest to me in age did not. But Samantha, we were all born a year apart, boom 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 down the line. So it was myself, my sister Mandy, then my sister Samantha. We're speaking of my sister Samantha. So, she was born in 79. I was born in 76. But her, she experienced similar things to myself, with the exception of the fact that she'd also had experiences with the Blessed Mother, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
But you would think that would protect her, but in this instance it is not.
Huh.
Whatever happened in this home, I don't know, but I intend to find out.
Has she been there for a while?
Yeah.
And it's just now starting?
uh it's not just now starting, it's just now ramping up in its instances.
So, I mean, can you think of any like what is there something going on over there change wise that would trigger it?
No, no, there's nothing liminal really happening right now. I mean, Dad passed away a few years ago, but we're
Sure.
talking about more than 2 years ago.
Right.
I mean,
Like
my
why
dad,
would you be back now?
yeah, he passed away before my son was born. And I there are maybe a handful of times where I recall having felt his presence in my general vicinity, checking in, what have you. Didn't see anything, didn't hear anything. It's just I smelled him, I knew he was there. I knew my dad was around me.
Yeah.
And for as conflicted as our relationship may have been, I felt very comforted because I always loved the man. I always loved my dad. He was a Vietnam vet. He had a lot of problems,
Yeah.
but I'd felt him around me. And so is my sister Samantha. She's very spiritual. She doesn't believe it's dad either. So whatever's going on over there, I have to get to the bottom of.
Well, I will be super fascinated to find out if you end up having uh any stuff on your tapes and your videos.
Oh, I'll share as soon as it happens. I will share because this is it's almost like a slam dunk because everyone in the house, my nephews, her significant other, everyone's like, no, Pete, this is really, really going down. Sam's not just cracking up. This is happening. And, Walter, her significant other, is not even remotely spiritually inclined or plugged in or any of it. It's not
Wow.
his bag. It's not the man's bag. It's not his thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And he's been
yeah.
very, very frank about the goings on. So it's
Y'all.
it's cheesy, but I'm excited. I'm very excited to
No, I
find this.
think like if I wasn't a scared person, I would.
Oh, I'm terrified. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to paint myself as this brave soldier for Christ who's going to go in like,
Right.
no, I'm scared. But I need to know
Yeah.
because
Wow.
my little sisters are still, and my little brothers, all of them, all five of them, they're still my responsibility to some degree. Not in the same way that they were my father's, but they're still,
Right. You're
you
big
know
brother.
I'm the big brother. I'm still the guy who beat up their boyfriends and did all that. But yeah. Once this really shakes out, I'm going to share. You know.
Well, that'll be really interesting.
Hmm.
You not too terribly long ago, didn't you try to record in your house?
Yeah, yeah,
Anything
uh,
come of that?
yeah. Some things did, but they were so oblique that I believe if I were to share them and make any dissertions as to what had occurred, people could shoot holes in it and
Right.
I wouldn't even feel like they were being shitty about it. Like, yeah, you could shoot holes
Right.
in that.
Right.
But knowing my home and knowing my sleep patterns and having experienced the life I've led, I know what's going on. And sleep paralysis is a real thing. I have experienced it since far before, they say puberty kind of sparks the whole
Yeah.
sleep paralysis thing. I've experienced it from as far back as I could remember in the late 70s, having
Wow.
having experiences with sleep paralysis. This is something far more involved, something far more nefarious, if you want to call it that. Um, spiritual, spiritual, whether it be one side or the other. But
So it, not to cut you off.
yeah,
Last week after we watched that movie, that serious movie, God, I got something in my eye right now and it's like burning like crazy.
that's why I put
Oh
my glasses on.
my God, what happened? Um, I'm a mess, dude. Um, what in the hell? We watched that serious movie and then went about our business. And I had bought a sleep mask because my friend had shared an article with me about how light can affect your sleep and like your metabolism and like all this stuff to do with your body, whatever, blah blah blah. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try that, because we have Christmas lights up in the house and I never turn them off. They're up 24/7 all the time. And Dirk and I sleep on the couch actually. Like we have a huge like sectional or whatever
Mhm.
because Mike has been having shoulder problems and kind of his sleeping is crazy right now. And Mike got COVID. God, it was a long time ago now. And so we had to sleep on the couch. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so much better for my back. Like I have a syrinx on my spine, which is kind of like the sack that the stringy things are in, kind of
Yeah.
pitches it through the little cracks, and you have like a little sort of, they call it like a cyst kind of.
Yeah.
Anyway, my back hurts if anything's even kind of hard. And so I'm like, oh, this couch is so nice and squishy. So anyway, I started sleeping on the couch, and Dirk's like, well, I'll just sleep on the couch too. So we have like couch camp out every single night. Anyway, I put the sleep mask on and it is black. Like it's the really good sleep mask that's like padded on the outside. And then they're sort of like donut shaped so that in the middle, even if your eyes are open, like it's pitch black. And I'm
Yeah.
like, ooh, this is cool, right? So I go to sleep, and as people do, I woke up at one point and I still had the sleep mask on. And I could plain as day see like all of these sacred geometry patterns.
Oh.
And I was sitting there staring at it and I'm like, what the hell? And like I closed my eyes again and I could still see them. And then I would open my eyes again and I could still see them. And I'm like, okay, that's freaky. Because they were so like vivid. Like they were
Yeah.
really vivid. And I mean, that's not abnormal. Well, I mean, I think it's weird that you're seeing actual symbols, but it's not like I Google searched it and I'm like, it's super common. Like I can't
Oh yeah.
think of a word for it, but like everybody has it, and like if you press on your eyes, you can see like lights and colors.
Floaters. Those.
Well, floaters are different. Floaters are actual. That's like the inside of your eyeball shedding, and you can see these are like actual pattern, like patterns and like
Mhm.
lines and whatever. Anyway, it's super common. But I'm like, how weird that after we watched that movie about all this like alien stuff and like whatever, and like I thought it was weird because it was like sacred geometry patterns, which everything's connected.
Yeah.
Like all these patterns are universal in DNA and the swirl of a snail shell and just like all this stuff. But I'm like,
Yeah.
that was really freaky. It was because it was so vivid, but I think it was just because that mask was so black that I could my eyes, what is going on? Like I think like a eyelash or something fell in my eyeball. Like it's not bad enough my whole head is like stuffed up, but now my eyeball is like watering. Anyway, that was weird. I was like, oh yeah. Next day I woke up and I'm like, hey Mike, have you ever seen like sacred geometry patterns in your brain? He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, okay. Then I've talked to a couple other people who are like, oh yeah, when I was a little kid, I used to purposely push on my eyes so I could see them. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not so freaked out then. Because I was like, am I having some kind of weird like, because speaking of those people like transcendental meditation and like calling aliens to them, I'm like, is my brain trying to like do this stuff while I'm asleep, calling things to me while I'm like, please don't do that without my like being in on it and
Yeah.
asking you to do it.
I think it's kind of incredible though, of all of the disciplines that they chose to sort of make communication with um, extraterrestrial life, they would choose TM because it's actually widely accepted as a form of relaxation and
Sure.
of mental well-being,
Yeah.
and they're facilitating that and pushing it in the sphere of extraterrestrial life. It only makes sense that they would correlate, but in all reality, on paper, on a collegiate and you know uh, just an intellectual level, it makes complete sense that that would be the mode that you would
Yeah.
communicate with something otherworldly. It's kind of incredible to me, and it kind of grants credence to what they're doing. Whether or not it's real, I can't speak to, but I
Right.
I kind of buy it.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I feel like something is definitely going on. I mean, they
Hmm.
have like video and photographic evidence,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to discount anybody's experience and say, well, you didn't experience what you say you experienced, because I'm not there and I'm not them. So I would never do that. It's super interesting to me. And it's one of those things where I'm like, God, I would want to try that. But by the same token, I'm like, yeah, but what if by opening yourself up to this thing, you're also opening yourself up to that thing?
Yeah.
And
What if everything that you're trying to do bears fruit and you're not prepared to deal with it?
that
Yeah.
too, because like, you know, I walk at night by myself all the time. And I I'm always looking up at the sky. I mean, Arizona's known for UFOs and stuff. And so I'm always like looking up there and it's
Yeah.
like I want to see something, but I don't want to see something, but I want to see something. And then and I'm like, but what if you did? And then you have to deal with like wrapping your brain around that.
Yeah.
And then one night I was walking and I was like, what would I do if all of a sudden my characters that I created like just popped down?
Ro- Roman just drops in out of
Yeah,
nowhere,
what would
and
I do? Hold on, I'll be right back. My nose is running because of
yep.
my. Oh my God. But yeah, but actually it was just weird because I wasn't even thinking about it. One night when I was walking out, I just got this weird vibe of what if, like, actually it was Lux of all of them. What if Lux just, here he is.
Yeah.
And it was such a strange like vibe that it actually gave me the creeps because I'm like, I don't know what I would do with it. Like, you always talk about like tulpa. Well, you don't always talk about it. People always talk about like tulpas and stuff.
Yeah. Well,
Like
especially
creative.
yeah, since the new Twin Peaks came out, tulpas are a big thing. That was kind of the thrust of the new Twin Peaks show.
Just think of how freaking freaky that would be.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're really here.
Mm-hmm.
How bizarre. But I mean, I love thinking about all that kind of stuff. I
That's
don't
why
know what that would do.
that new show. Have you seen Outer Range yet?
No, but I want to watch that. That looks good.
Oh my God, it's very Twin Peaks ish, very tied into the idea of tulpas.
I
It's
got the impression maybe it was Skinwalkers. Is that
no,
no?
no, it's more David Lynchian, more like
Ooh.
yeah, yeah. It's deeper than one would initially surmise. Anyway,
Okay. That's up our alley for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. But the idea that you could sort of will a being into existence via your own imagination, it
What do you
kind
think
of,
about that? Do you think that's possible?
I think anything within the sphere of um quantum physics in general is possible, based on the fact that we may be fooled into believing that we've willed this into existence, but in all actuality, with the idea that all is all in everything under
Uh-huh.
the guise of quantum physics, maybe we didn't invent it. It was just in always a part of our consciousness and always existed in its own way, and
Right.
create a conduit for it, yes. But we're getting, that's me getting way into the weeds with my own, weirdness.
So one of the things that Brother Richard said on Tim's podcast that really stuck with me was, if you can think of it, it's already existed. Like
Yeah,
like because your brain couldn't be able to create something that doesn't already exist.
correct.
So I guess if you're gonna believe that, then any theory that you come up with is essentially true.
Yeah, because it's already taken place within the context of, greater existence outside of the, periphery of your own human experience.
So
So
maybe there is something to that manifestation thing where people always talk about like manifest your destiny.
mhm,
And
the whole
yeah,
law of attraction of it
yeah.
all. Yeah,
I kind
yeah.
of I believe in that, but also I'm just like I also don't believe in that because I mean this I didn't choose this, you know.
No,
I
no,
don't
no,
know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a noob. I don't get it, but
no. I think where the disconnect in that lies is the fact that, we're torn between the corporeal, which means,
right.
that part of us that's tied to our own bodies versus the infinite and stuck to our own devices within the context of living within these bodies. It's outside of our understanding,
Right.
to
Right.
kind of grasp the infinite. But once we transcend the flesh, it's, in my opinion, it all becomes very clear because we slough off this shoal of physical existence. But then again, we're getting into the weeds of my own, you know psychosis and minutia.
Well, and I also think that like, the universe, God, whatever you call it, isn't
Mhm.
like your sugar daddy.
No,
Like
no.
you can't just go, "Oh, I want everything good in the whole world.
Yeah,
Give it to me." Like mm, so I don't it's like I believe sort of in like manifesting your destiny, but also not. And just like I know people wholeheartedly believe in karma, and I'm like, I just can't because I've seen too many good people fucking die horrendously
yeah.
awful deaths, and too many fucking sick people never get
Flourish.
anything but rewards. So, is there karma in the afterlife? Yeah, I mean, I guess. But as far as thinking that, like, people will say, "Oh, that guy's gonna get his," I'm like, no, he's not.
No,
No, he's not. He's never gonna get his. He's
not
never
here.
gonna get what he deserves.
Not
Like,
here
people think
anyway.
like it's gonna happen here. And I mean, sure, sometimes it does,
Yeah, but
but I don't think
that's
that's
the
karma.
exception.
I think it's just the randomness of fucking life.
Yeah, I mean, the building blocks of existence in general are very random, very everything came together in a very specific way that seems chaotic. But in all reality, if you break it down, there's no chaos involved. It's
Right, right,
very it's regimented. It all falls in line in a very specific manner. But this life, whether you're Christian, Buddhist, whatever faith you ascribe yourself to, it's a testing ground. This is just, training for eternity, training for utopia. Um, we're built to burn, we're built to fail here, no matter what you believe. This is just,
that's what bothers me is that like the failing part, because I feel like I'm never okay with the fact that I'm not perfect. And I
yeah,
know that that's ridiculous. I know that's ridiculous. Like I would never say to you that you have to be perfect.
Right.
But it's such, and I don't know where it comes from. And like, you know, because I pray a lot, and especially
Mhm.
like when I'm walking, I have like, I mean, I talk to God like I talk to you.
Yeah,
So
prayer is supposed to be open dialogue. Let's face
exactly.
facts. Yeah.
And like I'll be like, "Oh, help me to be the person that I'm meant to be." And this thing just popped in my head. I was like, "You're already the person that you're meant to be." Like
Yeah.
what do you like what is this person that you're aiming to, and it's cuz I have always had this like very specific vision of who I think I should be, what I should look like, how, you know, what I should do, how I should do it. And I've never lived up to my expectations ever.
No,
I'm,
but no,
you know, I'm not a good enough worker. I'm not a good enough mom. I'm not a good enough wife. I'm not a good enough daughter. I'm not a good enough sister. I'm not a good enough friend. I'm not a good enough exerciser. I'm not a good enough eater. I'm not a good enough house cleaner. That's all I think about all day, every day,
yeah,
since my entire life. And I don't know where it comes from.
I
Don't
do.
know why.
I do. And, it's going to sound really, kind of like a blanket statement, but it comes from two or three different places. First of which, and it sounds trite, but patriarchy. It comes from patriarchy because, all women are in some way, shape, or form trying to live up to the expectation of the father figure. A. B. We all grew up, especially in the 80s and 90s, with women on the covers of Elle and Cosmopolitan being these very stick figure esque, very binge and purge skinny
Yeah.
versions of beauty. And C, and maybe the most pressing is your television portrayal of the sideways demure woman, where this housewife or this woman who works, doesn't matter which, still ultimately plays folly to the masculine in her family unit. We're like, haha, I told you that was going to happen. Okay. Where the feminine is still beholden to the masculine and beholden to a vision of feminine beauty that the masculine holds dear and is, actually ubiquitous to the culture, when in all reality, every woman on earth is everything but this picture, with very slight variations and aberrations thereof. So women are conditioned to live up to an example that doesn't exist. So that's why you beat yourself up over a bullshit idea of what you're supposed to be, when in all actuality, everything you are is utterly fantastic and a lot of people look up to.
It's yeah.
And you don't see it because this was pounded down your throat because you're of my generation, and that's what we're used to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
Does that
I
make
mean,
sense, or am I just talking out of my ass?
no, it no, it really it does. It does make sense, but it's like it's such a because I do it to my like nobody does it to me. I mean, I have had people reinforce those things to me in the past.
Sure.
You know, I could cite many examples, but
Why
like,
can't you be more like this? Or
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Why if you looked like that? But like but I do it to myself worse than anybody has ever done that to me. It's just very strange.
Because you were forced, because it was ingrained in you. It's not, that wasn't your choice. That was the norm. That
Yeah,
was like
and women do it to each other.
because, and it's not their fault. That's patriarchy. What we're talking about is out and out patriarchy. I'm like, even as a man, I mean, there's a sort of victimization via patriarchy, because I was meant to live up to this expectation of masculinity where
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
out
yeah.
being this hunter, and I'm
Big
supposed to
tough
be
guy.
manly and masculine, and I you don't talk about your feelings or write poetry, you fist fight, and
Right.
and I'm guilty of it. I'm so guilty of it, having this, inherent masculine anger and willingness to strike out in a violent way, whereas in my true nature is not that. My true nature is to be a poet, to be an artist, to be a writer, to be a musician.
Yeah.
But my programming is otherwise. Your programming is otherwise because we've been dupes.
We're such complicated creatures. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody,
yeah,
everyone. We're so complicated. It's, and I genuinely spend a lot of time thinking about my motivations for why I think the way I think. Why do I do this? Why is that my reaction to that? Like, I think social media has been really good for me because I see so much ugly shit that I used to do in other people that
yeah,
it's, I mean, I was just as guilty of the same crap. And I still am sometimes. But
yeah,
like, it really, when you really stop and think about your motivation for like why you do certain things, and then you realize it's a bullshit thing to do,
mhm,
it should change your behavior. And and it has for me. Like sometimes on Time Hop, some of my old posts will come up and I'm like, why did I need to say that? Why did I feel the need to say that
yeah,
at that time? Because it makes me cringe now. Like I would never, like, just, ripping on random people for no reason, or
right.
movies or TV shows. Like nobody needed to know that. Not no one needed my hot take on Lady Gaga. You know?
Right, right. But do you see where the ingrained popular opinion of the patriarchal society had an impact on your assessment of Lady Gaga, who in all actuality is kind
Parenting.
she's kind of fantastic if you really think
Well,
about it.
it doesn't even matter. Like it doesn't matter
Right,
if she's fantastic or not. No one needs to know my thoughts on it.
right,
But it's interesting because like there's certain people like that I see their posts all the time, and every single post is a contrary or like critical comment about something.
right.
And I'm like, first off, why do you feel the need to do that? And I have
Yeah.
actually asked certain people that before. They never have an answer. It's always just like, well, that's my opinion. It's like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, but what's the basis? Like, cite your
And
sources.
like, and well, and why do you think everybody needs to know that you hate the new Batman movie?
Yeah.
Whatever. Neither here nor there. But like, it's just interesting to me that some people never look at why they do certain behaviors, or like, and they just kind of go, that's just who I am, and if you don't like it, that's too bad. But I don't think people really think that deep in the back of their brain.
No,
I
because
think that's just a defense mechanism.
yeah, but well, it's a fear. It's a fear that, if I were to, peel back enough layers of my own persona, it's informed by something that is other than my actual
Thought.
thought, my belief, what pounds through my actual heart and soul. Because I think when you break down every human being to their most base instincts, it's, take care of my wife, my kids, or my husband and my kids, or my no kids and my dogs,
Right.
whatever it is that you hold dearest. That's the ultimate human aspiration, is to take care of those or that which is in your stead, okay,
Yeah.
or that which comes from your specific loins. Anything outside of that is kind of cursory. It's other.
Yeah.
peripheral. So, you know, men in my age group who, you know, place so much emphasis on things like career. Of course, I could excel in my career. I don't care to. I just don't care.
Yeah.
I make a good enough living as a plumber that my kids get what they need, and
Right.
I give enough to the family unit that, you know, it either matches or is exceeded slightly by what my incredibly intelligent wife can pull in, because let's face it, Tiana's far better at everything than I am. But
I feel that hard. I feel that real hard because
yeah,
that's how
yeah,
I feel in my house too.
yeah, yeah. But you know, like it's just so long as that intent is there, that is as important as the end product of what you're pulling in, what you're giving to the communal greater good. Your
Mhm.
intentions are,
Try.
they far surpass the end product, and I don't think anyone gives that enough credit.
Yeah. Life's hard, man.
And life's hard,
I
but
try. I
it's
try.
the love that you put into what it is that you do to provide for those you love is worth more than the ends,
It's
the
so
end
funny
product.
because you say that, and my brain instinctively goes, "You don't even love him enough. Like if you loved him enough, you'd be better at these things. You'd be,
Right.
it's such a
Sweetheart, that's the trick.
easy.
That's the trick of what they do to us, though. Do you see that? Like the way you judge yourself, which pisses me off, because you don't deserve, you don't deserve that scrutiny that you give to yourself, because you didn't come up with it. That was something that was put upon
It's
you.
weird. It is very, very weird because like the whole time sitting there saying that in the back of my brain, I'm like, yeah, but if I really cared, I would be doing this and I would be, it's such a bizarre, torturous thing.
It's the, you know, inferred and you know, designed dichotomy of modern human existence, because we'll go back to World War II, when women were first truly given the power to be breadwinners, because all of the men were off to war. So all of your production jobs, all the way through office jobs, were given to women because the men were gone. Precursor to that, men were running everything. It was when the Great War happened that we fully recognized, without giving credit to the feminine of society, to have that power to keep everything going and actually doing it better than the men could. That's when the scrutiny started. That's when the magazines came out that said, this is what a woman's supposed to look like. This is, you know, what was once considered Rubenesque or voluptuous is now de rigueur. And then a few years later, it goes into the women who starve themselves and are the Jane Fonda of it all.
Yeah.
And you carry that down the line, that is not informed by reality. It's informed by what they would like you to believe is popular culture, when in all reality, most men will look at a woman with hips and breasts as a true picture of beauty, because on an instinctual level, we see the capability of a woman to carry life. And, you know, men are not. We're, as much as we would like to think that we've transcended the simian in us, we haven't. We have not. We
Well, don't
still,
you think some of it is just literally DNA, like programming in
that's
our
what I'm, that's
as
exactly,
animals?
well,
Because
that,
animals don't deep think about this stuff. They just
and that's what I'm, that's kind of what I'm playing into, like that, you know, genetic programming says a woman with hips is going to be able to pass a child through. So of course we're going to be like, yes, that's sexier. That's why, most men don't look at stick figure women and say that's sexy. We don't do it. Like, people will pretend that that's the truth, but the truth of it is a woman with hips and a woman with curves is going to be instinctually sexually more appealing, because that is how keep we keep us going. That's what
Yeah,
keeps
bizarre.
keeps the human existence flowing. Everything else is just a clothes hanger. In all reality, that's what makes Christian Dior sell. That's not what makes life happen.
That's funny.
I guess I really am a lot more of a feminist than I would have given myself credit for,
You're
because
probably
this is
more of one instinctively than I am, because I mean I'm clearly programmed. I mean, but
well,
I'm not blaming anybody for it. I think 98% of it is my brain.
no, no, I'll combat you on that, because that is legitimately what that is fed to women.
It for sure is, definitely.
Like, here's your vision of beauty. And it used to be Marilyn Monroe, and Marilyn was not skinny. She
Yeah,
was
a healthy girl.
she was built like a brick shit house.
Yeah.
And that's how ladies are supposed to look. Rubenesque.
Well, I mean, I think here's the girl in me. I think that all people are, I think people are attracted to different types of bodies.
We Yes,
Skinny,
yes. But
chubby, whatever.
what stirs the loins in the average man is Marilyn Monroe, not whomever oh God, I couldn't even tell you.
I don't
But
know.
even like some of these, like Megan the Stallion right now, who
Yeah,
can
yeah,
that girl can rap her ass off too. Like, let's face facts, but she's built like that. Okay, I mean, we're talking about a woman who has curves. Any guy on earth is going to look at that and go, yeah, okay. I can see why anybody would want that. They're not going to look at, and I'm trying to conjure a name like one of these blonde waifish actresses that are still getting work to this day. To me, that looks like a little boy.
yeah. I don't know. I guess that just hasn't been my experience.
But, well, I mean, your experience is more than likely vicarious through the conversations with other men who are not, like, as a married woman, they're not viewing you as a commodity.
No, but even prior, I mean, all my history prior to Mike, it was
Hmm.
all, with the exception of one person, it was all negative. So I don't know.
See, maybe I have always traveled in circles that were more, I guess, enlightened, which
Maybe.
I'm maybe
Like
whatever it is.
anytime somebody tells me like like there's dudes that like specifically like overweight girls, I'm like, do they really? Like I can't picture, like, because in my head, I mean, okay, let me state for the record, I can picture them liking some other girl
Mhm.
that's overweight, but I can't picture that in relation to me. Like to me, I would be like, they say that, but no.
Well, because you're so accustomed to shitting on yourself.
I guess.
No, Tara. That's exactly what it is. Just like when I talk about the fact that Estrella is such a fucking masterpiece, you're like, yeah, okay, but like, no, there's you instinctually take the piss out of anything that places you on a pedestal higher.
Oh, I definitely, it makes me completely cringe.
that's
Completely
that's
cringe.
terrible. That's terrible, because you should be allowed to celebrate
I
your
can't.
greater potential. That's not fair to you
I
to
just
do that
can't.
to you.
Just can't. Every once in a great while, I'll do something and I'll be like, that was good. And that's as far as it goes.
Yeah, but you're such an incredible, otherworldly, incredible vocalist. You're
I don't
capable of
get it.
so fucking much. And
I
like,
just don't get that. Like I'm not saying that to be like humble.
no, I
I
know,
really don't think it's anything special. I really don't.
but it is. But it is. And I'm here to tell you that. And it's not just because I've been such a fan of Lycia for so long, or because, like, even though we just reconnected like a year or so ago, like we've known each other for a while, there's always been an admiration on my end for what you do, what you bring to the table, what you know what I'm saying? And I'm well versed enough in music to know what's good.
It's just weird to me because like to me, I'm still just that kid that fucking didn't fit and like whatever. And then, to me, I'm like, okay, yeah, I do music and I sing and stuff, but I'm not like on that level. I'm still just like fucking like fumbling my way through everything. You know what I mean? Like
But so,
accidentally doing stuff. And
so is Jim Morrison, so was Iggy Pop, so was Robert Plant, so
well,
was Robert Smith, so was Johnny Rotten, Joey Ramone. The list goes on and on. We were all misfits. We were all people that no one else took stock in until we found our niche and dominated and showed people that here's my place, and fuck you if you don't like it.
yeah, I don't know. I just don't I see that for other people.
You didn't recognize it the time and time and time and time again when you'd done it.
No, because I don't think I have.
Yes, you have, though, many times, and I think that's what makes an artist. And that's the curse of the great artist. The great artist doesn't see how great they are and doesn't give themselves enough credit for the great things they've done, which is the tragedy, the Shakespearean tragedy of talent.
Yeah.
The truly talented never give themselves credit. Ornette Coleman killed himself with heroin because he didn't see how genius he was as a jazz artist. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's that time and time again. Jim Morrison bloated in a bathtub in France, dead, destroyed himself without fully grasping, even though he knew he didn't grasp that he was not only a lyrical genius, but a magnet for feminine sexual energy throughout the late 60s and early 70s, to the point where the men could have slept with anyone and commanded such a the zeitgeist of what one would consider hippie culture. And it just died in a bathtub in France because he didn't not even self-love, but just a self-awareness to know that here's what I'm capable of, here's what people think of me.
It's a weird thing.
It
Like
is.
I mean like yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would rather be like this than be arrogant. I can't that make that like I think that's probably part of the thing is that I'm so like I find people that have egos so abhorrent that
Yeah,
anything that is even slightly hinting at having an ego is off-putting to me. For like if people should think they're good, I mean they should. People
yeah,
should be I'm awesome. I'm good at things. But like when it's in that arrogant way, it's so gross to me. And so there's like this weird fine line between thinking I did good at that and being like, yeah, I'm all that. And I don't it's I eh.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's a flip side to that, because yes, to believe that everything you've done is incredible is abhorrent to other artists, whereas the flip side of that coin is, Kurt Cobain, where you get somebody who believe what you want about the music of Nirvana. They were transcending, they were taking, the underground at that time,
Sure.
what the Melvins were
He
doing and
changed
all of
music.
that. They changed music, and he couldn't stand the fact that people thought highly of him, because he was so down on himself, that he ended up gone, dead,
Yeah.
when he could have, went from a 3 album run and then dead to a 16 album run, and
Still here.
changed, still here, and his daughter would still have a dad. you,
Yeah.
you know you know what I mean, like that's kind of like the line that all artists ride. So
Yeah. For me, it's definitely like a feeling of like just accidentally lucking into something that anybody could have accidentally lucked into the same situation. I don't know.
no, I mean, to me it's more like lightning in a bottle, where like the combination worked in a very, like, you couldn't have planned it. These
Yeah.
things happened in a random succession that were so
Also,
hand in glove, so perfectly made for one another, that they couldn't have gone any other way.
life is definitely like weird because you know there's that whole thing of like is it mapped out or is it not mapped out, and I think it's kind of both. Like if you go this way that'll happen, if you go that way a whole different thing will happen.
Hmm.
But it's I mean one just alternate choice could just, what if I never wrote Mike? What if Sam never sent me Mike's address? What if that guy never sent me that dubbed copy of Ionia? What, you know what I mean? Like all this
Right.
random stuff. But by the same token, like it did happen, but it could have easily not happened. It's just such a
Right.
weird, it's such a, life is just very weird.
Well,
And then
I
Dirk
mean,
would be here, and like who knows what Dirk's gonna be when he grows up and what he's gonna do. You know, like it's just everything is so bizarre.
well, I mean, yeah, on paper bizarre, but in the context of human existence, pretty on par with the way all things happen.
Right, totally, completely. Yeah,
So I mean, we're
it's
all
like ordained and yet not at the same time.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. I mean, if in retrospect it looks preordained, and
Yeah,
you know so mote it be, but when you're in it, when you're still riding that initial wave, it feels very random and very special. But that's what makes human life so incredible, because every little minute thing
I
is
guess
an
that's the chaos
adventure in.
magic of it all, right?
That's the chaos magic of it all,
Yeah.
yes.
Back to the
Because
sacred geometry.
yeah, well, yeah, and the fact that there's a map to it all, and there's a flow to it all, and a mathematical equation to it all. But when you step back from it and just look for a second, if you don't understand the path, it all looks like chaos,
Yeah,
and that's beautiful,
yeah,
and that's what makes life special.
yeah.
My wife and I shouldn't be together. My wife and I are vastly dissimilar. She's far more attractive than I am.
Oh,
She,
stop.
you know what I mean? Like there's
I
just
don't know what you mean.
my wife is gorgeous.
Well, of
That's
course she is, but you are too.
yeah. I mean, not like that.
Well, you should feel that way.
I will always feel that way about my wife. She's just mm, I love my wife very much. But if you put the two of us together on paper, it just doesn't add up. But we got this gorgeous little boy out of it, and after having experienced it, it seems ordained. But if you step back and look at the
Right.
grand picture of it all, it looks very convoluted, and there's so many branches, twists, and turns. It's
Yeah.
like the taproot of a very rogue tree. But here it is, you
Yeah.
know, and that's what's beautiful about reality. As chaotic and as painful as it can be, it can also be so rewarding.
Yeah.
And that's what I see in your career just as a musician, and like not taking into consideration your personal life, your son, your husband, just the musical path. There was something that kind of like called you out of obscurity and said, okay, there's this really powerful, really deep force that's pounding on the periphery of popular music that will impact a good many people, and you're supposed to be a part of this. And you came to it as a fan, not as someone who is attempting to be intrinsic to that experience. So you came to it as an admirer and became a driving force within it. That's how could you ask for really much more than that?
And can I tell you, I still feel like this is Mike's thing and I'm allowed to be a part of it. And I know he doesn't, it's not because of him. Like,
No.
I feel like it's a gift that I'm allowed to be a part of. Like, and that gift can always be taken away. And I'm not saying like he's like, no, you're not allowed in here. But just
Right.
in general, like, none of us knows like when the last record comes out. Nobody plans for generally.
Yeah.
Nobody plans for it to be the last record. Nobody knows when you step off that stage for the last time. I mean, some people plan it, I guess, but it wasn't our plan. Let's just put it that way. But it's just such a strange thing. Um, all of it. But I definitely feel, obviously destined to be where I am because it was just too bizarre not to have had some sort of destiny
Right.
to it. You know what I mean? Like, I randomly get a tape from some random guy that I just happen to randomly write and then randomly write to the record label, and he randomly writes me back, and then just a whole weird, the whole thing's weird. But I mean, I think that it's true of everybody. Everything's weird. Everything's weird.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be. That's the whole.
Yeah.
That's the whole beauty of the situation. Like that's why you and Dave are still kind of like reaching for that next movement, and that these spirits that are entwined that have created in the past are still coming together to make something else, to do that next thing.
I hope so.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, if you're not meant to, then why do these things continually present themselves?
I don't know. Like I said, you just never know. Like, things can be gone, stuff can just be gone.
Nothing you guys have done has been gone, though. That's the thing. I mean, you've survived every negative pratfall within the music industry within the last 20 some odd years, because everyone has felt that pang. But it's still here. It's still moving people. It's still inspiring people. We still have the soft kills of the world. We still have, Don't Get Lemon, like the musicians that have obviously taken cues from your playbook and expounded upon them for their own self-expression. That's immortality in a nutshell. That's it. That's as immortal as any human being gets.
Yeah.
I know you don't see it. I know you're not seeing it. But
Well, I mean, that whole thing, that's just weird to me. But just like I said, you never know when the last time you step off a stage or the last record, the last song is recorded. You just don't know. Those days come.
yeah,
And that's why, like, when I see these other bands out touring and stuff, I'm like, fucking do it while you can, man. Because you don't know when the last time is.
well, fortunately for you, the best song you'd ever written is still in the house with you guys.
Oh
And
yeah,
he
a hundred
and
percent,
he will always be the best song you've ever written.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep, he's a cool dude.
Yeah, he is. So I got way too deep there for our normal discussions. So,
I know, I love it. I love it though, because we're all over the place, and I like that. That's how a conversation's supposed to be.
yeah, absolutely. But
We should
I
probably
I'm
go.
yeah, it's pretty late. We should probably go, but like I do want to, like, anyone who's still hanging out with us and watching this in the future, like, this is as real as I get, without interviewing an artist or whatever. This is pretty much me,
Yeah,
like, unfiltered.
as it should be. But
Yeah,
I mean, people need to just be real, warts and all,
yeah, and I'm a great big
Toad.
open wound of a human.
Yeah, I feel you, brother. I
Yeah,
feel you. Well, thanks for hanging out with me.
likewise. We don't do it enough,
I
and
know. I
it
know.
sucks, but neither of us can afford the flights to the other side of the country in order for us to do it in reality. So it's the best we're gonna get.
It is. It's awesome.
I agree.
All right, well, my sweet friend.
All right, my friend. I love you very much.
Love you too. You're the best. Have a
You
good rest of your night. Go to bed.
I'm going to.
All right. Have fun with your kiddo.
I will. Good night, babe.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.